Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the race watch along for the 2025 Singapore Grand Prix. How are we all doing this Sunday afternoon? It's the afternoon. I had to double check. Or morning or evening, wherever you are in the world. Hope you're having a good one. Had a good weekend so far. Looking forward to this. And just to add a little bit of spice into the mix, it has rained. So the track is rapidly drying. But still quite damp, so this could well be an intermediate start, which could be quite an interesting start to this Grand Prix, so lots to look forward to. We'll go through the grid and strategy and all of that in just a moment. I'll do some shout outs as well, but it looks like we're going to have an interesting start to this one. It may not stay wet, but as they've pointed out on Sky, with humidity being 77% and the fact there's no sun beating down on the track, it might take a little bit longer than, say, Bahrain in the day to dry or something like that. So it looks like a damp start. We'll see what happens. We've got a good 24 minutes yet, so plenty of time. But yeah, the cars are on the grid and ready to go for this one, as am I. Well, I'm not on the grid, but I'm ready to go. Hey to Lee, to Pascal, says good afternoon, Sean and chat. I hope you're all doing well. Let's hope for a cracking race. Come on, Sauber, let's get some points. Hey to Michael, who says that Albon's had a lot of bad luck lately. We'll get into that in a moment. Ali, hey Ali. Hey to Fudd, hey to Warner's End. Hey to DJ Kainik. It was raining in the driver's parade. It was indeed. Hey to Alfie and hey to Kevin, who says, can they do quali behind the safety car? Why not? I mean, be a laugh, wouldn't it? See what happens there. Hey to Kieran as well. Hope you're all right, mate, and ready for this one. Let's run through the grid. If anyone else crops up in chat while I'm doing this, then I'll come back at the end and do some more shout outs. So, but basically hello to everyone is the long and short of that one. So George Russell on pole position for the race today. Max Verstappen alongside him on the front row with Oscar Piastri in P3. Kimi Antonelli, I think that's 2 consecutive top 4 starts for him. Looking forward to see what he can do from there. Lando Norris 5th and Lewis Hamilton in 6th. Charles Leclerc 7th, Isaac Hadjar 8th and Ollie Bearman 9th and Fernando Alonso 10th. Nothing changing as far as I can tell inside that top 10 since yesterday. However, behind that there have been some changes. Nico Hulkenberg is still 11th, Liam Lawson 12th, Yuki Tsunoda 13th, Gabriel Bortoleto 14th, 15th for Lance Stroll, 16th Franco Colapinto, 17th Esteban Ocon, 18th Carlos Sainz, and then Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon will start from the pit lane. Now, I think it was probably about a minute to the end of the stream yesterday, so I didn't quite catch it. The Williams drivers were put under investigation for, where is the thing, for basically exceeding the maximum limit of 85 millimeters on both sides of the rear wing on the outer area. So their DRS and rear wing wasn't in compliance with the regulations, so they were disqualified. The stewards said during post-race scrutineering, or post-qualifying scrutineering, sorry, the rear wing of the car was found to be non-compliant with the technical regulations. The uppermost rear wing elements, adjustable positions were checked. The DRS in the state of deployment exceeded the maximum limit of 85 millimeters, as I say, on both sides of the rear wing outer area. The competitor admitted that although their own measuring prior to the qualifying had shown a component to be within tolerance, the measurements subsequently, I hate that word, conducted by the appointed FIA officials revealed a larger gap than permitted, and therefore the rear wing did not conform with the required dimension. They were then, of course, disqualified from qualifying. They were then allowed to start the race under the 107% rule after getting special dispensation, only for them to then make setup changes to Alex Albon's car on his suspension, which means he will start in the pit lane. Pierre Gasly as well. He had a floor change to a different specification, and so breached part firming and starts from the pit lane as well. And it is worth noting, James Vowles released a statement yesterday saying that during FIA scrutineering after qualifying, the rear wings on both our cars failed DRS slot gap checks. As a result, Alex and Carlos have been disqualified from qualifying for today's Singapore Grand Prix. This is bitterly disappointing for the team. We are urgently investigating how this happened. He then goes on to stress, at no point were we seeking a performance advantage, and the rear wings had passed our own checks earlier in the day, but there is only one measurement that matters, and we fully accept the FIA ruling. We have a car capable of scoring points here this weekend, and we'll do everything we can to fight from the back of the grid, and we will immediately review our processes to make sure this doesn't happen again. So that is why Williams were disqualified from qualifying yesterday. That's everything that's been said since. So there we go. Exciting for Williams. An exciting day for Williams. That's what I'm going to say on that one. Just to double check I've got everything in there. Yeah, so we have got Gasly started from the pit lane. Albon as well. The rain's been falling. We've done the grid, which means strategy. It kind of goes out the window in situations like this, because if it is damp and they start on the inters, which parts of that track look very wet, particularly that sort of middle sector look quite wet, so they might, or damp really, so they might want to start on the inters. So if it is dry enough to start on dries, it is a one-stopper. Surprise, surprise. Strategy 1, mediums to lap 26 to 32, and then onto the hards. You can then reverse that hards to the mediums. You can start on the softs, run to about lap 20 to 26, and then put the hards onto the end. Or you can do a two-stopper. Soft tyres, lap 13 to 19, then the hards, and then the mediums to the end when they pit on lap 34 to 40. The reason I shook my head there is because if they can avoid pitting, they absolutely will. More than once, I mean. You know, it's a street track. Track position is king. I found this day. I didn't realize F1 did a proper strategy, guys. So I found all this information that I'm going to try and keep available for the stream. So if we have a green flag, the pit lane lost time is 22.8 seconds. Under a safety car or virtual safety car, it's 11.5 seconds. And in previous deployments, 2017 to 2024, 83% safety car, 33% virtual safety car. So there you go. We could get some safety cars today, which might open up multiple strategies, but it's highly likely that it's going to be a one-stopper otherwise. In terms of tyres, pretty much everyone has a new set of mediums. Again, the Aston Martins have a used set, but that has probably only done one lap as they put a heat cycle through. And everybody, again, apart from Aston Martin, have a new set of hards, but they will likely still be pretty much new soft tyres, for Hulkenberg, Lawson, Tsunoda, Bortoletto, Stroll, Colapinto, Ocon, Gasly, Albon and Sainz, everybody else on the used stuff. So I'll try and keep that open because that might be interesting in the race when you're all going, how long do they lose in the pit lane? And I forget, which is inevitable. So I think that's all you need to know. It's a lot of stuff to get through. I appreciate that one. But it is, as Pascal said there might be an intermediate start there. It is looking at the moment like we might see that because the grid... the grid looks drier than the other end of the track, but it's still not completely bone dry. And you've got to remember as well, it's not just necessarily about the asphalt. You've got to remember you've got the curbs as well. It'll take longer to dry. The white lines might be a bit damper, so they've got to be careful. So I'd imagine it's somewhere there on the side of caution, but we might see somebody go balls to the wall towards the back end and stick a set of dry tyres on and try and make them work. But that's potentially a recipe for disaster. Let's see what happens in the next few minutes. Well, we're not far away now, 18 minutes from the start of the race. We should get the tyre info through soon as well. So let's see what happens. I'll answer some of your questions as usual. Let's do some more shout-outs. I did change to a Red Bull shirt, by the way. I don't like the other one that I've got, so I didn't go with that one. So I've gone with the Max Verstappen pop art one, which is actually quite nice. It's quite comfy, actually. So I'm wearing that one today. So if Max is in the wall at turn 2, it's entirely my fault. Also, that's quite a big accident to be in the wall at turn 2, but you get my point. Hey to... Esgra John, thank you very much, mate. It says best watch along channel. Thank you. Tommy says slippery paint is a talent test. Absolutely. Kevin says Sean tries to take me seriously. Nothing I say is reasonable. It's kind of true. Hey to Bruce as well. Hope you well, mate. Fud says there's no way both Russell and Max will make it through turn 1 without at least one going off. Is there more rain expected? Question mark. Let's have a look. Or I'll have a look and I'll tell you. I wonder if I'll get logged out of this. Let's see. No, I don't want to update it, thanks. 20% for the rest of the race. So, nothing expected, and chances are a little bit low. 80% chance it won't rain, of course, or it will stay dry. So, not expected, but then I don't think this downpour, this shower pre-race was massively expected. And they're talking to Lewis Capaldi there. He's ace. Pascal says Max and George aren't exactly friends, so it could be a tasty turn 1. You've got a situation here. Hey, Jithy, hope you are, mate. You've got to remember as well, Max hasn't got nothing to lose. Does that make sense? He's not in a position where he's got nothing to lose. That's what I'm trying to say. Because he is sort of in this. So he's got to be somewhat careful, whereas George can kind of do anything he likes in there, can't he? But he'll want the win, George Russell will. So it'll get tasty down there. And there may be contact, but I was talking to Stuart Chamber before I went live, briefly, and we were sort of talking about this being quite a pivotal weekend because nobody expected Red Bull to turn up and perform here, and here we are, and McLaren have been very disappointing. And we both sort of agreed that whilst he's still sort of an outsider, we have, with absolutely no dig at all at Lando, we have more faith in Max being able to win it this year than we did Lando last year when he was chasing Max down. So it's one of those things we talked about yesterday where I don't think anybody's really absolutely declaring Max is 100% in this, but a weekend like this, in these conditions, if he can win it and McLaren have a shocker today, that 69 points suddenly, if neither of those score, that suddenly drops down massively, doesn't it? So it feels like a pivotal weekend. We're getting to more standard is the wrong word, but your normal racetracks coming up with Cota and Mexico, but then you've also got Brazil, which God knows what happened there. So it's going to be interesting. It's an interesting race, a pivotal one in the championship potentially, but it could all very much come unstuck in turn 1. Let's see what happens. If he dives bomb Russell into turn 1, it could be game over, says CPB. Max will never not go for a move. If he's there, there's a 50% possible. If there's a move that's 50% possible, Max will make it 75%. I said that yesterday. If there's a 5% chance a move is on, he's going to make it. And again, I'm not having a dig at Lando, but you look at Baku last time out. There are a couple of moments where we were watching live, and I was like, "Oh, here we go. This is where he's got to go for it down the straight." And then it looks like he's going to send it into turn 1 and doesn't. Max Verstappen sends those. Lando didn't, but Lando probably has more to lose than Max does at the moment. So it's very difficult to gauge it, but I'm just looking forward to what this could be. Risk of rain 30% now. Apparently, that's now increased since a minute ago. So yeah, we know he can be feisty on the first lap. Max are just showing us now, so let's see. George is wearing his flashy silver jacket, says Kevin. Looks like a roast chicken, doesn't he, in that? There you go. The further back McLaren start, the more likely they are to get caught up in drama. That's true. And Jithu said, I would rather take a George win rather than a McLaren win, to be honest. I think... I wouldn't mind a Mercedes win. I wouldn't mind a George win. But I... Look, the... the racing fan in me wants to see Max in this championship fight because... Sorry to say it. I'm not sorry to say it. I'm just saying I'm sorry. I'm not actually sorry. I'm lying to you. But this championship will be infinitely more interesting if Max Verstappen's involved. So if he can win it and McLaren have a shocker today, then it's game on. And I kind of would rather see that than most other outcomes. But if we can't have that, I'd be happy with a Russell win. It'd be nice to have somebody other than Red Bull or McLaren winning again. I think the last one was it Russell Canada the last time a non-McLaren or Red Bull won? I feel. You'll correct me in chat, definitely, but I feel like it was. Some points for Bearman and Haas would be really nice. There's Boob Spoon. Yeah, P9, he's got a shot there. And Hadjar as well, actually. It'd be nice to see them get some points, or him get some more points. They are working on Antonelli's car, by the way. That's a cooling thing. Look at all the dry ice coming out of the car. Looks like it's on fire. Yeah, it was apparently according to Pascal, so that's okay then. I thought it was. I couldn't think of like a surprise Ferrari win in there or anything like that. So, yeah, it's been a while, so... it seems Albon's been flagged for a practice start infringement. Oh, yes, I did spot that on the... Thank you, Fud, I did spot that. So, incident involving car 23. Albon, he's been noted. Will be investigated after the race for failing to follow the race director's instructions, a practice start infringement. So, that could be anything from a fine to a grid drop, I suppose, because we've seen penalties given out for that before. Was Hamilton at Sochi? What feels like 2 years ago, but was probably about... 7 or something like that. I think he got one pre-race, didn't he, and got penalised for that. So let's see. I'm not going to try and second guess what the FIA might do. I'd imagine a fine, but will it be an inter-start? Question mark. We're not quite sure yet. I can't. It's sort of when they were doing their reconnaissance laps, I was watching it, and when they go down Raffles Boulevard, so between turns 5 and 7, there is spray being kicked up, but it's not a huge amount. But then there are other areas of the track as well. Turn 10 was quite slippery. Carlos Sainz had a moment there on his reconnaissance lap. So it's probably damp enough in some parts for Inters. The curbs are going to be damp everywhere. The white lines are still going to be a bit damp as well. The track on the... I mean, they're doing a sort of a shot down... a top-down look at the grid now as they sort of pan down it. But it's definitely not bone dry there. So I think... we might see a mixture. We might see some people at the back try dries, but I think if it's as slippery as it was on the reconnaissance laps, it'll have to be Inters. But let's see. We should find out in the next few minutes now. So George Russell has got his cooling vest on. A few drivers not happy with the cooling vest. FIA are going to have a look at it, but they're not going to remove the mandate to wear it. The other thing as well, by the way, and I checked this because yesterday I can't remember what it was, or who it was, but they asked yesterday, do we think that McLaren have lost pace or Red Bull have gained pace? And we were theorising, weren't we, umming and ahhing a bit about it. We weren't quite sure. But I went back and had a look at some stuff afterwards because I was intrigued by it. Red Bull have brought updates to their car for the last 8 Grand Prix. McLaren haven't done that. I think 2 out of 6, I think, was what I read. I might be wrong. But for the last 8 Grand Prix, Red Bull have brought updates. So looking at it like that, and looking at where they are now to where they were 8 Grand Prix ago compared to McLaren, I don't think McLaren have lost pace. I think Red Bull have just closed that gap, and I think that's what's happened. And that's the one thing it says to me. There is something else that does concern me a little bit as a Max Verstappen fan. They're building their own power unit next year, working with Ford, but they're ultimately building it themselves with that help from Ford on particularly the electrical side, I believe. Is this Red Bull still developing their car now because they know that next year might be a struggle, so they're going to try and go all out between now and the end of the season to try and get Max that title, because it could be a couple of years before they're challenging again? It's just a theory. Don't have a go at me. I'm just putting that out there. It's very possible that maybe they're looking at it going, it might be tough to fight for the title next year. Let's see if we can get in the title this year, which is why they've developed so late, because pretty much we're getting track-specific updates, you know, a skinny rear wing for Monza or a high downforce one for somewhere else, for example. but we're not getting massive updates from anybody else, but Red Bull are still updating their car. This could be stuff that's got stuck in the production chain, of course, that was due 3 races ago that's just coming through now. But I do wonder if there is a little bit of concern about next year there, but that's a conversation for over the winter. It's not, it might be nonsense. It's me. It probably is nonsense. And who knows, Red Bull might turn up and be 3 seconds quicker than everybody else next year. Now I've said that. But it could be that they're just thinking, let's get this one for Max if we can, or at least try to. But we'll see what happens. It was just a theory. But really interesting they've been updating quite as... I didn't realise it'd been like 8 consecutive races. They've bought a decent upgrade to the car. So they're clearly still working on it. So... and Lauren McKees is getting a lot of praise for that, and he rightly should do. But don't forget as well, on that production chain point, some of the updates that came after McKees took over could have been from when Christian Horner was in charge. So, you know, a team don't, and you'll know this, but a team don't design, test and develop and build a new front wing in the space of a week for the next race. You know, these are weeks, if not months in advance. So, but still credit to Lauren McKees. There you go. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Next year's going to be fascinating, but I think this race is about to be fascinating. So I'm going to put the sound back on so I can hear it now. Hopefully... No, it's okay. I just want to make sure the TV wasn't making the noise because then copyright will tear me to pieces. But we are 7 minutes away from the start of the race. So what are your predictions then? Give us your top 3 in chat. I said on Thursday, Verstappen, Norris, Piastri. I'm going to go today, Verstappen, Piastri, Russell. That's boring, isn't it? Come on, Sean. That's my boring standard one. How about this then? Verstappen, Antonelli, Leclerc. There you go. Bit of chaos. Why not? Not sure that's going to happen, but first one's probably most realistic. Carnage, says Chef. I like that one. While you get your predictions in, I will just have a quick look at what you've been saying elsewhere. Michael says drying quickly. Warren says yes, it'll be an interstart. Wet sectors 2 and 3 according to Albon. So that's a good bit of info there. Thank you, mate, as always. McLaren said they also just stuck on curves and bumps, hence not great in Baku either. That's a fair point from Boom Spoon. Hopefully they've sorted the bumps out in Kota then. I know they keep having to grind that track down, don't they? Because of where it was built. So hopefully they'll be okay next time. Think Inters for 5 laps and dry, says Ash. Interesting thing, Ash, though. They were saying on Sky that Checo the other year, it took an hour into the race before they were able to go to dries on a damp track. So we might see something similar, but we've had a bit of rain. Let's have an interstart, some nice early stops for dries, then let's have a downpour about halfway through. Not enough for a safety car, just wet enough. A lot of them updates aren't updates, but just specific wings from their pool, says Warren. They've still been bringing some sort of, unless my info is wrong, Warren, it could be, mate. It was all very quick last night reading through it, but I think there were the track specific stuff, but there were also actual updates to those weekends as well. But I know they delayed one update earlier in the year, didn't they, a little bit? They were supposed to have a big one for one race, and it came 2 or 3 races later, so it could just be a knock-on from that rather than anything else. Jithu says at least McKees has restored peace. That's true. Max Verstappen needs to be on the podium for every race from now until Abu Dhabi, and he needs to win sprint race to CPB. Unless McLaren have shockers. If we have another weekend where they don't score, or a weekend where they don't score, or they score next to nothing, then that swings very quickly, doesn't it? But if it's a standard weekend, he's got to be, I'd say, winning everything. It's not Inters. I'll tell you what, though. I'll come to your predictions in a second. Russell starting on the mediums. Verstappen on the used softs. Mediums then for Piastri, Antonelli, Norris, Hamilton and Leclerc. Used softs for Hadjar. Mediums for Bearman. Used soft for Alonso. Mediums for Hulkenberg and Lawson. Softs for Tsunoda. Mediums for Bortoletto. Softs for Stroll and Colapinto. Mediums for Ocon, Sainz, Gasly and Albon. So that set of softs, Max fancies having a go into turn 1, I'm guessing. I mean, soft tyres on a slightly greasy track, going to find the grip a bit easier than mediums or hards, aren't they? So it won't be easy, but easier. Let's do your predictions then while Crofty's doing all his blah, 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 blah. That was my Crofty impression. I'll stick with my prediction for yesterday. Says Fudd, Antonelli, Hamilton, Leclerc. That's a fun race. Ash says Oscar, Russell and Lando. I'll read it, Kevin. Why not? Kevin says my prediction is Krusty Crofty. Say something stupid. 10 points already. Perplex says Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton. CPB says Russell, Verstappen, Antonelli. Warren, I think Warren's predicting carnage here. In fact, he says carnage on the first lap. He says Warren says Sainz top 5, wink. There you go. Remember, Warren said that if it happens. Pascal Verstappen, Russell, Antonelli, and Nico Hulkenberg in the points. I am going the same. No change. Russell, Verstappen, Piastri, says Tommy. Ali says Verstappen, Russell, and Antonelli. Boom Spoon says Russell, Michael Phelps, and Bottas' mustache as the top 3. And there you go. So, yeah, that's some interesting predictions there. This could be very good. Not the same number here as yesterday, 161 of you, but really appreciate having you here. So thank you very much for joining me. Please do drop a like. It's unlikely we're going to get to 100 before the race start, given that we're only just over 100 in terms of viewers, but the sooner we get to 100, the less likely I am to ask you about it. So let's try and get to 100 likes if we can, so that we can focus on the race. I will say as well, by the way, last week we bigged this up as being a great race in Baku, and it wasn't, so let's not get too excited. But let's get the watch-along screen all set up. Shouldn't take a second. There we go. I think actually I'm going to go the other way around because it didn't work last time, did it? So no on-track footage for obvious copyright reasons. Lifetime provided by the awesome folks over at Multiviewer for F1. Thank you very much to those guys as always. Link in the description if you want to go check out their app. It is free to sign up, but it will cost you an F1 access subscription, an F1 TV access subscription as a minimum if you want to access all the data, but that's £2.29 in the UK, so not too bad and well worth it in my opinion. And you can customize your viewing experience to include as much or as little data as you like, and the more the better is my answer to that one. So yes, please do go check those guys out, and thank you as always for your support, all of you and them as well. So let's see what happens. It's just, they just look cool, don't they, the graphics? So quite happy with that. Let's see if we get some pictures at the top rotating at least, just for, or circulating at least for now. There we go. But we are ready to go. Looking forward to this. Max is to keep a cool head, because if George and Max collide and Oscar wins today, the title fight is done for Max. Yep. Somebody made the point a minute ago, didn't they, about the further the McLarens are in the pack, the harder it's going to be for them. That's, Norris is, he's got Hamilton behind him, so he might be okay, but he's got, Antonelli there, who can be a bit unpredictable as a rookie. Ask Charles Leclerc in Zandvoort. So he's got to be careful there. Piastri won't want to get... I can't imagine Piastri's going to want to try and squeeze in there with Russell and Verstappen. I mean, ask Max Verstappen, Sebastian Vettel, and Kimi Raikkonen what happens when you go 3 wide and the start-finish straight. It could go very, very wrong very quickly, can't it? So, still to this day, it really annoys me that people blamed Verstappen for that, but we'll not get into it. I'm not sure what we're supposed to do other than evaporate, but anyway, that was 2017, 18, somewhere around there. So I think we can move on. It's going to be an interesting start. I'm quite surprised. I'm quite intrigued here to see what this formation lap is like. And I wonder if anybody, maybe, just as an argument, say Esteban Ocon gets around, the cars ahead are all over the place, it's really slippery, and he thinks, do you know what, I think starting on the inters might be the way to go, and then pulls in the pits, put the inters on, and then passes everybody, and then the track dries and it all falls apart. Anushka is scared for the first corner now. Could Kimi take out Oscar and Lando like Max, Kimi and Seb? Lol, says CPB. I did hear Crofty saying in his build-up, like he always does, about Antonelli being 4th on the grid. Last time a Kimi started 4th on the grid in Singapore, that happened between Vettel and Verstappen and Raikkonen, and is that an omen? And I thought, well, not really, Crofty, because you're talking about Kimi Antonelli, a rookie from Italy in a Mercedes, versus Kimi Raikkonen, 108 years old, and a Ferrari for Finland. I mean, it's not quite the same thing, is it? It's not really an omen. He'll look for. He's a bit like me. I do love a stat, to be fair to Crofty, so I will always go and look for stats. And that's kind of, I need a retire talk for starters. So just confirmation, one stopper, probably the way to go today, unless we get some safety cars. Safety car chance is very high. We've got Gaz at the end of the pit lane ready to go for his lap to the grid, but of course he'll pull in at the end of that. Just waiting. I'm intrigued by these soft tyre starters. 18, I think, says, and yeah, says Ash, sorry. Yeah, it would be, I can't remember what year it was now. It feels like yesterday, but also forever ago. It would have been 18, I think. Yeah, because it was after the year after the channel was start. Yes, it would have been 2018, yeah. Soft to hard question mark says RC. Hey RC mate. Yeah, you can do a soft to hard strategy, so that is doable. In fact, the Pirelli guide and the F1 guide says lap 20 to 26 and then put the hards onto the end, or you could do lap 13 to 19 on the softs, put on the hards, and then change on lap 34 to 40 for a set of mediums. So you can two-stop from there as well. Feels starting to get backed up now. I was looking at chat and not what's going on. Yeah, we actually won a game, RC. It was quite an emotional moment. It's like, this is what 3 points feels like. If you were watching the build-up, by the way, was that Mel C on the grid doing her DJing? It just looked a bit like I wasn't watching. I sort of just at the corner of my eye and I missed it. I don't want to rewind. I wasn't that bothered. So, yeah. Russell coming round then, lining up on the grid, getting ready for this one. Here we go. Russell coming down to take his place on pole position. Was it? Cool. There you go. It was Mel C. Wow. Very exciting. Which Spice Girls haven't we talked about this weekend on the two streams, by the way? I feel like it must have been 3 so far. Just Posh and Jerry to talk about now. Or Ginger, I suppose you're going to use their Spice Girl names. Anyway, we are here for a race watch along, not a Spice Girls discussion. That's going to be my new Twitch channel. We're just going to talk about Spice Girls all weekend. Just filling basically until we get to the start here. We've got cars on the grid. They're still waiting for people to come around these final corners. So we'll see Gasly and Albon peel into the pit lane. They'll start from there. They're already down there, actually, to be fair. Sainz will be the last ones to take his place. I'll count down the lights so you can sync up with the stream if you want to. Carlos Sainz just pulling in now, lighting up the rear tyres. And then we'll see where we go. Here we go. This could be pivotal. 1 light, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. We're going Singapore. It's a good start for Russell. Oscar Piastri's got a decent one, actually, alongside Max Verstappen almost, but Verstappen covers that off, and Verstappen didn't get off the line, perhaps as well as he'd hoped, and the McLarens are side-by-side, Piastri and Norris. Last time we saw teammates side-by-side there, they did bang wheels, and Oscar Piastri very nearly in the wall there, but Lando Norris does up into 3rd place. That was very nervy there. Perez Ocon was what I was thinking there at turn 3. Squeaky bum time. But yeah, Lando Norris with a great start. Has he got damage to his front wing? Norris. Piastri not very confident at the moment. I feel like Norris has a bit of damage. He does. As you look at it, is right. His left end plate looks a little bit askew, but it might just be camera angles. Oh, we've got a chance there for Alonso having a look at Hadjar. He's had a good start, or he's staying in 8th place at least. A feisty start for Hadjar. But yeah, we are still Russell, Verstappen, Norris, and Piastri at the moment. My leg is twitching for some reason. There you go. I had contact. Just keep an eye on everything, says Norris. So there was definitely... maybe that is damage to front wing then. Something just looked a bit askew, but I can't see why he'd have damage on that side, because Piastri was on the... It is broken, yeah. I thought it was. The thing is, though, you know, as... Actually, to be fair, Ash said in chat, Norris needed to do that. He had to get on with it and get his elbows out. So he has got damage. But we'll see what they might meatball flag it. That's a lock up there from somebody. They might meatball flag him, but I don't... Oh, that's Piastri off the track at turn 17. So that'll be a deleted lap time, but he is still P4. But the McLarens, I mean, certainly with Piastri not looking very comfortable at the moment, with George Russell 9/10 clear of Max Verstappen. So a good start there. Hamilton, by the way, down to 7th. Antonelli down to 6th. And Leclerc up to 5th. So was that Antonelli with a bad start? We need to see a replay of that. Hadjar and Bearman noted for causing a collision. We'll see if that turns to anything. That wasn't very team-like, but sure, says Piastri. Don't worry, mate. If it's not fair, they'll swap you over, I'm sure. I'm joking. But about time he got his that. He should have been doing that last race, to be honest, with Leclerc, but it's something. Now he's got to take on Max Verstappen, which is a scary thought, isn't it, for Lando? There goes Tsunoda being overtaken by Ollie Bearman. Esteban Ocon. Of course it's Ocon, 31, Sean. Here's the contact. So Norris is on the inside. Yeah, Norris hits the back of Verstappen and then shoves himself into Piastri. So that contact with Verstappen is what sent Norris into Piastri. So, yeah, I can see why Piastri's annoyed, but that could have been a lot worse. Could you have imagined there, we're going back a bit, Norris takes out Verstappen, Verstappen and Norris both out of the race. That Piastri's just like, thanks guys, that makes my life a hell of a lot easier for the next 6 races. So it was contact with Max and not Oscar, but that definitely sent him towards Oscar, didn't it? Which caused Oscar to have to take evasive action. Did they bang wheels? It looked like it on the offboard. I was busy watching the Red Bull ahead to work out whether those two were contacted, but Crofty talking about how Papaya rules have changed and McLaren are saying they're changing and they're not going to shout about it. I mean, we knew they would change. But yeah. We are cool with Lando just barging me out of the way. What's the go there? Question mark. We're looking at it. Let me get back to you. So they are asking the question here. And for the same reason that I don't think McLaren or Piastri should have abided by team order. I don't care what's in his contract before you say it. Couldn't give a shit. As a racing driver, he should be moving out of the way for his teammate like he did in Monza in a championship fight or wherever it was. Was it Monza? It was Monza, wasn't it? I also don't think Norris should be moving out of the way of Piastri here. Piastri needs to get on with it and get back past him and get his elbows out. We're racing here. We're not, it's not Formula best friends. Norris hit 2 cars, no investigation, says Warren. Did he actually hit Piastri? He definitely goes towards him after hitting Max, doesn't he? But we don't tend to see, unless Max had ended up in the wall, we don't tend to see penalties for a bit of contact like that at turn 1 at the start. Yeah. So Verstappen's not threatening Russell at the moment, but I do wonder if maybe just with him on the soft tyre, he's going to look after him for a couple of laps. But then you want to use that grip up, don't you? Why would you look after them for a couple of laps? Is he going to try and stretch this to a 1 stop from here rather than trying for a 2? I don't know. But Norris on the back of him, so... Yeah, it was definitely... It wasn't like he's not slammed him in a side pod, but I don't know if they actually made contact at all. And I'm not going to rewind now in case something happens and then I'll miss it. Yeah, pretty much. I'm not going to say it. We're still reviewing that instant. We will look at it, but I need you to just focus on what we can do from here is what Piastri's been told. Norris and Piastri reviewed, no further investigation. Control the controllables. Do you know what, actually? That's great advice. Full stop in life. Just control what you can control. Control the controllables. As I said to you the other week, I've come into this year, and certainly as the year's gone on, and I'm trying not to stress about the things that are out of my control because there's nothing you can do about it. So let's just focus on what I can control. And that's good advice, just generally for life. So there you go. I'm preaching at you now. Stay in school and all that business. I mean, do stay in school, but I mean, you'll start learning once you leave school. Simple as that. Same with your driving lesson. You'll learn to drive, and then you'll learn to drive once you've passed. They're 2 different things. Piastri, let's have a look at the order then. So Russell, enough of the life nonsense. 2.3 seconds of gap, 2.4 really, Russell to Verstappen. Verstappen about a second clear of Norris. Norris just within DRS. If he gets through the detection point. In fact, not anymore, he isn't. Piastri 2.4 back, Leclerc 1.2, Antonelli 8 tenths, Hamilton 1.2, Alonso 1.7, and then it's just welcome to the DRS train. Currently, your driver is Fernando Alonso. Carriage 1 is Hadjar, Bearman is carriage 2, then it's Hulkenberg, Lawson, Colapinto, Stroll, and Bortoletto. Yeah, pretty standard Singapore. Yeah, yeah. There's driving and then there's driving home. Exactly, Ash. It always took me a lot longer to get to work than it did to get home, funnily enough. That's strange, isn't it? Weird that happens. 37.5, fastest lap for George Russell on that lap. Some good stuff. Did I set the time to last lap, by the way, on the timing tower? I'm pretty sure you'd have told me by now. I didn't, no. So we do need to go to last lap time. There you go. Well, the time's not showing, is it? For some reason. I've only just noticed that. Why is the lap time not showing? Was that doing that yesterday? That the lap time wasn't showing? I mean, you need to see the gap to the leader, really, don't you? So I suppose that's okay. But I might be able to go and find the code for it, but I can't remember where it is now. That's strange. Let me try that. Watch you break it. There we go. Look at me. There you go. I fixed something live. You usually have to leave it for 2 weeks. There you go. Just for you. Sorted. Sorry about that. If that was doing that yesterday, I apologise. I didn't spot that. I was looking at my timing here rather than over at the stream. So I just noticed. So there we go. I think I fixed it. Yeah, it's working now. So apologies. Massive apologies, particularly if that was happening yesterday, because that made the qualifying data stupidly bad, didn't it? It made no sense. You just had the gaps rather than the time, so fixed it. I think I know why as well. So I want to see this. So this is the Oscar Piastri one. I'm going to rewind it because I want to have a look at this. They're just showing the replay now. So we go into turn. We're on board with Hadjar now. So we're going to turn one. Yeah. Oh, they do bang wheels. Yeah. I mean, he has given him a shove, but that shove, based on that replay alone, looks like it's because of the contact with Verstappen, in the sense that Norris is trying to avoid that being worse than it is and hits his teammate. So I can understand why Piastri's pissed at that, to be honest. I would be as well, but okay. I'm with yeah. So right. I'll try and relay as much as that's the case. The stewards have said no further investigation. The team have said that he was trying to avoid contact with Verstappen, so they won't take any action themselves in the race. Piastri has declared that as not fair. The team have said there will be a chance to review it after the race as a team. So there you go. So the team are going to do nothing about that. Piastri thinks it's unfair, much like I said at Monza, so I'm not going to be a hypocrite and change that now. They just both need to get on with it. But if that's where the line is drawn now, Oscar knows if he does get a run at Lando, he can shove him wide and give him a wallop if he wants to. So there we go. Yes. What do we think, chat? Do you agree with me? Do you think just leave them to get on with it and just, as they should in Monza, stop being silly, stop trying to manufacture things perfectly and keep everyone busy mates? Because it's not, as I say, it's not Formula best friends, is it? Or do you think they do need to swap them over? I understand why Piastri's angry. I'd be angry at that as well, given how the team orders and papaya rules have played out over the last 18 months, 2 years. I'd be pretty angry as well and annoyed. But it's up to him now to catch Norris if he can, and then send one up the inside. And bearing in mind, if they collide, then it doesn't really hurt Piastri too much in the teammate battle. It will against Verstappen, but not in the teammate battle. So get your elbows out, show them what they're doing. But yes, establishing battle lines, exactly, Ash. Michael's racing incident. Oh yeah, it's not any more than that. Webber will be annoyed. It is good to hear some emotion as well. Double yellows out there, by the way. I'm guessing something's fallen off. My guess is something's fallen off a car. We've got double yellows between sort of 5 and 7, just through turn 6 there. So I'm guessing there might be a bit of debris, or the FIA have gone out and thrown something on the track, because this has been far from a thriller so far. We need a safety car. Yeah, I agree, Fudd. McLaren needs to stop all the papaya rules already. They won the title barring a sinkhole opening and swallowing Woking, yeah. It's, I mean, Piastri's picking up the pace now. He's not gaining on Norris. He's still a 10th down, but he's now starting to edge away from Leclerc a bit more. So, but yeah, the yellow flag was between. Sorry, I'm listening to Ted. They're talking about the right decision from McLaren, etc., etc., and I'm not going to get into it anymore. We have said what I said. You'll say what you've said, but yeah, let's just just catch him, Oscar, and go for it. The lines have been drawn, as Ash has said there. They've established the battle lines. You know what you can do. And if the boot's on the other foot and they decide to take action, then we all know, don't we? But Ocon has a problem with his brakes. I assume they're just not braking. I can't think of, maybe overheating. I don't know. But he's down in, where is Ocon? 16th. Tsunoda down 4 places to 17th. I know we saw Ocon get by, but I don't know if he had a bad start or if he just cannot drive that car. Albon and Gasly still at the back, not making any progress. In fact, it's just honest review right now. Apart from the McLaren's banging wheels a bit, not really much has happened. Piastri went off at turn 17 and rejoined, and I think we saw Ocon pass Tsunoda. Yeah. 4.1 seconds the lead at the front. Russell's gone at the moment. Verstappen now 1.7 clear of Norris and starting to pull away, although Norris did catch him slightly that lap. Norris saying, we asked how the tyres are. He said the pace is good. I think I'm a lot quicker. Even though he's not a lot quicker, he's losing time to Verstappen, but sure. Or he has done over the last couple of laps anyway. Piastri, 2 tenths off his teammate and 2.8 down overall, but 2 seconds clear of Leclerc. Antonelli 9 tenths behind Leclerc. Hamilton 1.4, then Alonso 4.5. Hadjar 0.7, 1.5 to Bearman, 1.5 to Hulkenberg, 0.8 to Lawson, 0.9 to Colapinto, 1.2 to Stroll, 1.5 to Bortoletto, 0.9 to Ocon, 0.7 to Tsunoda, 2.1 to Sainz, 0.8 to Gasly, 1.5 to Albon. So, yeah. Gizzy Guzzy saying Piastri's a whiny girl. I mean, his teammate's not any better, is he? So, let's not. Maybe it's a McLaren thing. I don't think it's whiny. I think he's right to be pissed off. I'd be pissed off given that, you know, the way team orders have worked over the last couple of years at McLaren. I'd be annoyed at that, but it's a first corner incident or a second corner incident. Actually, technically a third corner incident, I suppose. Yeah, 2, 3. It's just a nothing in it. It's just whatever. It's just McLaren being McLaren. It doesn't even feel that dramatic. I mean, you know, if that's Verstappen and Hamilton in 2021, that's an absolute disgrace. That's uproar, and we're all screaming penalty or no penalty, or the stewards should be looking at this. And with McLaren, it's kind of like, oh well, never mind. They got near each other. It's about as exciting as it got between those two this season, frankly. 4.6. No, I have no filter, by the way. Just if you're wondering, I have. You know, I'll say what enters in my head, and if it gets me in trouble, it gets me in trouble. I don't care. Lap 10 of 62. Interesting between the McLarens, I suppose, if you want me to sort of try and make it a fascinating race, but we're sort of at that point. I wonder if it's just with the tyre management phase. I don't forget as well, it's a bloody long race in Singapore. We're going to be pretty close to 2 hours when it's all over, although at this speed, Russell might be done in the next 10 minutes, but it's going to be nearly a full 2 hours. It's hot. It's humid. 77% humidity. It's exhausting. It's 90 left. It's 90 right. There's not really any break. You know, like Baku, you've got the long run all the way to turn 1 from that turn 16 or whatever it is. So a bit of breathing time, but not really any of that in Singapore. It's a tough race. So maybe just pacing themselves a bit, but also, come on, lads, it's racing. Let's have some action. Kevin says about 60 people are jogging past my house. Well, there's the half marathon in Lincoln today. I'm not saying you're in Lincoln, Kevin. If you are, then, you know, come find me. We'll go for a pint. But, I mean, not maybe during the race. We'll leave everyone else to it. We'll go for a drink, mate. But, yeah, and I think Sam, who does the shorts on or did the shorts on the channel, is doing the half marathon today. So hopefully he's all right. They're not going up steep hill, which is something, but they've still got to go up a couple of hills because it's Lincoln. It's all hills. But, yeah. What I was saying, Kevin, is there might be a half marathon near you that you didn't know about. I didn't know about it until Friday when Sam told me. So, I mean, Russell's gone 5.2 seconds clear. Verstappen seems to have Norris in check at the moment. They're kind of matching each other lap time wise. Piastri's half a second lap slower though. So, but then, you know, as you pointed out in chat yesterday, you know, he was in the top 3 for all of practice. He was in the top 3 yesterday, but it's not felt like a big. Any change in downshifts? No, it's really rubbish, says Verstappen, with other words used than rubbish. Shit, I'm guessing. But yeah, Russell is half a second quicker at the minute, and Piastri doesn't seem to have the pace to match those ahead. But again, we could be seeing drivers pacing a bit. Apart from George Russell, who's basically just didn't get the memo about this being a physically demanding one. He's just gone. He's decided. So, but not much happening out there. Max does just need to outscore Piastri, says a Yinka. Do you know what, actually? The reason I paused there is I didn't really twig to that. Verstappen's got a car between himself and Piastri. So, actually, What's that? 18 points, place 12. So that's a 6-point gain, isn't it, for Verstappen? It's still 63 points the deficit, but it's still a decent gain. And if anything happens ahead of him, it might, or behind him even, it could increase. But I think coming into this weekend, my attitude was very much that Piastri just needs a clean weekend. Even if he loses ground to Verstappen and Norris, even if they close the gap in the championship by 2 points or 3 points or 4 points or whatever, as long as it's not like 10-15, he just needs to bag the points this weekend and sort of bounce back from what was a shocking Baku for him, but a shocking Baku for McLaren, really. So fourth place will suck because he's lost a place and he's behind his 2 championship rivals and his teammate, and he's not happy. But actually, in the grand scheme of the last sort of 2 races, that's probably not a terrible result, but it won't feel good. It'll be something he looks back at in, if he wins the championship at the end of the season and goes, it was important that I got that 4th place or whatever. And I'm calling it a 4th place because as it stands, it looks like with a long way to go, we're going to need something to happen. So it could be that we stay as we are, but we'll see. Couldn't hear Pastry's radio. What did he say, says Anushka? He doesn't think it's fair that Norris has gone to avoid Verstappen at turn 1 and still hit him. Yeah, let's not. But he sort of tried to avoid making that worse, and then he's come across the right and he's then hit Piastri, who's nearly ended up in a wall, and he thinks that's unfair because the team aren't willing to swap the positions back. The stewards haven't taken action. Given how things have gone over the last 12, 18, 24 months with team orders and papaya rules, you can understand why he might think that there should be a change there or that something should be done, but he's not happy. So that's the long and short of it, but it's still... it's still storm in a teacup, but at least it's given us something to talk about. So it's again, it's a long old race here. But Antonelli, did we see Antonelli start replay? I was still trying to find out all the info on the McLaren's banging wheels, but nothing much is there. Max's downshift as the new tyres are gone, says the Yuki. Yeah, that's true. What did he do last lap? 37.1. I mean, he's still 7/10 down on his teammate, on George Russell, his potential future teammate. Who knows? They could end up in a team together. Maybe they'll end up at Williams one day. Who knows? Yeah, Yinka, I came into this weekend fully expecting Mercedes not to be quick because it was going to be hot and humid, but here we are. I mean, do you consider 29 degrees hot? Celsius, because to me that's 20 degrees hotter than I like it to be, so I would say that's hot, but there'll be people saying that's nothing. But 73% humidity, that's a sticky one, isn't it? That's not fun. Oh no, it's a hot night. Good point. Yes, it's not a hot day, Inca, it's a hot night. Thank God it's not the daytime. Imagine the heat then. If you are just tuning in and wondering why I'm not really updating on what's happening, it's because nothing is happening really, or not worth going over every 3 minutes. Essentially, Russell has gone up front, 7 seconds clear. I mean, Norris is starting to close in on Verstappen, although they matched each other on the last lap, so that gap is coming down a bit, but really it's just 1 to 2 second gaps between everybody from Verstappen down to Albon, with the exception of Piastri's 4.5 back on Norris. So not a thriller, but there's still plenty of time for things to happen. Like I say, it's a long old race. That 14 of 62 will go nearly the full 2 hours, I'd imagine. And we've had safety cars here every year except 2024. So you can work out the odds if you want, but that would sort of... It's possible. Rev Raven says, that explains it, and it is just Singapore. Hello, Sean. Hey, Rev Raven, mate. Hope you're well. Red Raven, hope you're well. They're getting ready to pit a Red Bull, and Bortoletto's in and Tsunoda's in, so I'm assuming this is for Tsunoda. Bortoletto's getting a new front wing. Oh yes, his left front end plate, as we look at it, right front for him is off. In fact, no, it is just his right front. The left, as we look at it, is off. I've hit the wall. Keep an eye on the right side, says Norris. So Norris, not content with hitting Max Verstappen, has also hit the wall. Don't forget last year, of course, that tyre was rolling back into the fast lane. That was silly, Sauber. But don't forget last year, he was cruising out front. And was it turn 5 where he ended up clouting the wall and he's lucky to carry on? So there we go. Keep an eye on Lando Norris. He hit the wall, apparently. He's not lost any pace. Are we going to get a replay? So this is Bortoletto at the start. This is where his damage came from, and it was courtesy of, I think, it was indeed an Aston Martin there with Lance Stroll at the start, so just banging there. So that's a shame. Here's Norris hitting the wall. Let's see what happens. Is it left? Okay, it's going to be right side, isn't it? Yeah, as he comes out of 17. Well, the on-boards never look that dramatic. It's the off-boards that give you an idea as to how hard the hit was. Not really too bad, was it? He sort of grazed the wall a bit. A glance. Yeah, not really anything there, is there? But clearly no need to change that front wing either, by the way, on the McLaren. His pace is good. He's quicker than his teammate, and he's matching Verstappen. So, all good there for Lando. Yeah. Tommy says odd that he didn't cut the tyre, the Bortoletto Stroll one. That's a fair point. They used to be. Are these less likely to do that, these end plates, than the old end plates that we had a few years ago, maybe? Because they don't seem... Obviously, every bit of an F1 car is important aerodynamically. But they certainly don't... The end plates certainly don't seem as critical as they used to be, do they? I remember you'd lose an end plate or even part of an end plate, and then you'd suddenly be a second a lap slower, and your race would be screwed. But now you seem to be able to lose them and just carry on. So, how is Max living on such worn softs? Says Bob. Hey Bob. Not bad. I mean, look, he's 80 seconds off the lead, so not where he wants to be. But his pace is. I mean, he's a tenth slower last lap than Verstappen, so he's doing a good job on used softs. They've done 17 laps over all those soft tyres now, so he's doing well on them. His pace isn't horrific, but I do wonder if he had his time again. So he's saying it'd be easy to undercut Max. So there you go, Lando Norris. Well, that's assuming to get the pit stop right, obviously. But yeah, so I think if he had his time again, maybe you think about the medium for the start, because it didn't give him the grip off the line that maybe he was hoping it would. So that's an interesting thing to maybe. Hopefully somebody will ask him after the race, could he have started on the mediums? And the answer will be, I can tell you what the answer will be. Well, we'll review it, and that's all in hindsight. Blah 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 blah. But yeah, there is a nice gap for him to go into, for him to fall into if he gets a bit more pace, Lando. But if you're Verstappen, do you back Lando up a bit now so that he can't go for the undercut and try and stretch the stint out? Or, I don't know, we've got 10 laps till it's time to pit for the medium runners according to that, and they're not really, apart from George, they're not really pushing that hard compared to what I was expecting, so I don't know. The front wings are much simpler, and I imagine that a lost end plate used to mean a lot of cracks in a billion of small winglets. Yeah, that's true. I mean, the barge boards, what we used to call barge boards, were ridiculous, weren't they, at one point? I mean, they were so detailed. But yeah, it's still intriguing. I suppose, yeah, if you think about the sidewall of a tyre, really the only thing you're going up against on the end plates now is that little bit on the side. That little winglet, let's call it, on the side of them. Whereas before you were going against, Bodicea style, all sorts, weren't you? So that's maybe why they don't cut quite so freely now. But it's a good point. These end plates are mandated to contain outwash that causes dirty air, but also ends up putting dirty air detrimentally towards the floor, says Nilesh. In the past, the end plates had a bunch of sharp downforce elements on them. There you go. Thank you, Nilesh. Good stuff. Good info as always. Yeah, differing layer of carbon. They come a long way with this structuring of the layers, says Tommy. Yeah, just intriguing. We've had a couple of pitters, by the way. 3 to be exact. Colapinto, Tsunoda and Bortoletto. Tsunoda and Bortoletto to the hards, mediums for Colapinto. And McLaren are getting ready for somebody. I wonder if they'll let Piastri pit first. Oh no, they're going to go with Lando. That's okay, cool. I wonder if they might let Piastri have first dibs on the pit stops, but no, not this time. I'd be facetious. They're saying it might be a dupe on Sky, trying to dummy Red Bull into a pit stop, but do we think Norris got the pace to challenge Russell today? I mean, yes, he's behind Verstappen, but I mean, Russell 136.9, Norris 137.3. So they haven't pitted Lando, so it was a dupe. They're told to stay out. So yeah. My favourite rule in it, one of my favourite rules in F1, and I'm not going to go McLaren for this. This is Ferrari do it all the time. Red Bull do it. My favourite rule is that you're not allowed to go into the pit lane unless you intend to make a pit stop. Yet all the time they're trying to dummy each other. You're like, it's not the FIA that ever watch. But how do you prove they didn't intend to make a pit stop? I suppose is the problem. How do you police that? If Ferrari say we're going to pit this lap and then decide two corners before the pit stop, no, don't stay out, then how do you prove they weren't intending to stop? But I just love that rule. There's so many little ones in F1 that just never get enforced in any way, and they just take up valuable space on the regulation pages. It's something to scroll past, I suppose. Ted Kravitz is making a point I was going to make about the strategy guide, and they're not supposed to be pitting on the mediums to the hards for another 10 laps or so. So if he came in now, Lando, he may struggle with his hards later in the race, which could then bring his teammate back into play. So it just, even for an undercut, it seems a little bit too soon. I think you'd maybe get away with that lap 24 rather than 26, but I don't think you'd get away with it lap 18. But then, again, track position in Singapore, it's a street track, difficult to overtake. You can keep cars behind, can't you? Oh yeah. I'm not absolutely Red Raven. I don't mind that they do the dummies. I think it's part of the sport, and I think that they should be allowed to do that, because as long as, like you say, they're not putting people in danger, it doesn't matter, does it? But it's all part of the gamesmanship in the sport and the mind game. So I'm all for it. I just think it's funny we've got a regulation that the FIA can't really enforce and don't really pay attention to. I imagine if McLaren did it every lap for 10 laps, they might take a look. But it's just, I like little rules like that just don't mean anything. I'm also desperately trying to fill, because we're waiting to see if Norris is going to get a run at Verstappen or not, and whether or not Albon can catch Gasly for a thrilling P16. But it's kind of where we're at the minute. Tsunoda lapping faster than Max on the last lap, says Mark. 137 flat. Yeah, 4/10 quicker actually, Mark. Great spot. So fresh tyres. So we kind of knew the undercut was powerful here anyway, didn't we? Hey, Jamie. Hope you're well, mate. Hey, Craig as well. Yeah, I think we knew that the undercut was going to be powerful here, didn't we, coming into this weekend? And it's quite powerful at most tracks, I think. I'm not going to commit to that 100%. Jamie says, I'm here to say what we can all agree with. Screw papaya rules. Yeah. I'm not. I'd love to go on Twitter right now, by the way, and just see what the reaction is. I know what the reaction is. Everyone's going all conspiracy theory about, well, if it was the other way round, because it's the interweb. While we're waiting for action, I bought a car 2.5 weeks ago, and I'm still waiting for it. Why does it take 2 weeks to come from Montreal? Says Kevin. What car is it? If it's a pedal go-kart, then it's because they're taking a while to deliver it because they're pedaling it. So Verstappen has pitted, Norris stays out. So it was an opposite of situation. I wonder if that 4/10 from Yuki, it's a slow start right rear on the Red Bull. Sorry, so you say McLaren, 3 seconds. But I wonder if that 4/10 from Yuki just made Red Bull, and that gap, that little gap between Hamilton and Alonso, made Red Bull think, hang on a minute, let's give this everything now, because this might. He just gets ahead of Alonso. He's not going to catch Russell or undercut Russell. Russell's got probably 4 or 5 laps to react, quite frankly, maybe more. But this might build the gap to Norris net, because he's got, what has he got to Hamilton? 8.7 seconds. So if McLaren have the speed with Lando Norris, they need to deploy it now. Outlap critical is what Max is told. Get on with it. I love the way those two talk to each other. They're like an old married couple. It's brilliant. Just get on with it. So yeah, let's see what he could do there. But that's that. I wonder if that 4/10 from Yuki just made them go, ah. Do you remember a few years ago, Lewis won a Grand Prix F1 race with 3 tyres? Yes, 2020, wasn't it? Yeah. That was when everyone suddenly started getting punctures, wasn't it? And it was like, look at the state of that Mercedes. I think it was Crofty's line. And it was Lewis Hamilton, and they'd just seen Bottas. So yeah, that was Madness. So Loris stays out. Piastri. So Norris does a 1:37 flat, which is 0.2 quicker than the leader. So it's his personal best, but he's 0.6 slower than the best lap. It's kind of pointless looking at Verstappen's outlap as such. He has gone purple in the middle sector by 0.6 of a second over Norris. It's the sector times we need to watch on his outlap. So at the moment, Verstappen would be a couple of seconds up the road from Norris. So this is, it's not an overcut. Verstappen's not overcutting Norris, but he's extending his lead net over Norris. But Norris will have the tyre delta when we get to a bit later in the race. Although I will say, as Hadjar pits, Verstappen did say yesterday he won't forget what happened in qualifying with Norris, which was a big fat nothing burger, but he won't forget what happened there. So I wonder if Norris gets to run at him later in the Grand Prix, how aggressive Max is going to be. I also realised that was the most moronic statement I've ever made in this channel. How aggressive will Max be? He'll be as aggressive as Max Verstappen ever is, which is aggressive. So that was a stupid thing to say. Russell said it was working yesterday. What was working yesterday? What have I missed? Let me know what you mean, Russell. My brain doesn't work properly these days. I mean, it never has really. But yeah, I'll keep an eye out for any elaboration on that one. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, the only thing that can, looking at the driver tracker, that can sort of scupper this for Verstappen is if he catches Hamilton too quickly. To see as Leclerc pits, so maybe Ferrari are gonna pit in quite soon to get these out of the way. But yeah, that could ruin it. So Leclerc's pitted for a nice set of Haas. Good stop as well, 2.3. He'll drop down to behind Alonso, but ahead of Bearman, I believe. Oh, gonna be close to Bearman, you know. In fact, it's not that close. Bearman's through, so he's gonna feed in. Welcome to Ferrari. We don't do strategy. He's come out right behind Gabriel Bortoletti. Nico Hulkenberg. I mean, you feed your driver into clear air. Surely it wasn't even a slow stop. 2.3 seconds. You feed your driver into clear air. They fed him out right behind Nico Hulkenberg, as in on the gearbox off. So, I mean, that was just... Leclerc's going to send it. Hulkenberg will turn in, but Leclerc's through. But then he's got Bearman just ahead of him, so... Oh, Ferrari. Tsunoda not fast on the hards. Mediums look like the right tyre. He was quicker than Verstappen, which I think is what maybe triggered them into the stop. Everything's working against me in this race is what Verstappen said, so he's not happy about everything by the sounds of it. But yeah. Ah, Ferrari. You know, you look at Verstappen, comes out in a beautiful bit of clear air between Hamilton and Alonso, even with a slightly slower stop, can get the hammer down, it could turn his race around. Ferrari feed Leclerc right in behind Hulkenberg. Anyway, so it sounds like there are some problems with Verstappen. I wonder if... What do you think, chat? It wasn't a massive hit from Norris, but I wonder if there's a little bit of damage to the back of the car somewhere on the diffuser that's just causing him some issues. Not like, you know, little things like that. Looks okay. It looks okay, but I just wonder maybe something's happened there that's making him uncomfortable. I know he's not happy with it, with the downshifts and things, but then, like you say, Verstappen and downshifts is the same thing as Hamilton and Matthias are gone, so... Plan B, we are checking, says Ash. Verstappen did a 36.3. That's 0.3 quicker than Norris on that lap, by the way. So at the moment, he is well up the road from Lando, probably 3 or 4 seconds now. That'll obviously close down with the fresher tyres for that. But any safety car now would really work in Norris's favour. The gap is 20 seconds. It's 11.5 if we get a safety car for a pit stop. So he needs to get to within that 11 seconds, really. Russell 0.6 slower than Norris on that last lap. They're talking about it on Sky now, so that gap is starting to come down, but it is still 9.2 seconds. The damage may already be done. Yeah, 9/10 quicker than Russell as well. Yeah, good spot. Russell's been told what I just said there. And then, yeah, there you go. Russell said, this is my pace. My tyres are dropping. So, but he's got time here. There's, Russell doesn't need to react to anything immediately, does he? He's got a bit of time. 26 to 32 for that first stop is what's scheduled. So the medium runners will be in the next 2 to 6 laps, really. So, but yeah, they'll want to pit Norris first, get the undercut on Russell. Piastri might want to do the same. I mean, could you double stack the McLarens from there? 4.2 between them, based on their the way they do pit stops. Maybe not the slow stops I've had lately. They probably couldn't, but there you go. Can you please, when time allows, recap the start of the race? I was late, unfortunately, and I'm seeing Norris in front of Piastri, but all are still in the race. Yeah, it was a bit of a dull start at the front initially, because Russell got away well. Verstappen wasn't really threatening. He was on the soft tyres at the start, was Max. Didn't really get the grip off the line. And then into turn 2, Norris got a bit overexcited and hit the back of Verstappen. And then to avoid making that any worse, he swung his car to the right, but then banged wheels with Piastri, who very nearly ended up in the wall. Piastri was, to put it mildly, pissed off on the team radio. Felt that it wasn't fair based on how they sort of dealt with papaya rules over the last year or so. Didn't feel like it was fair that the team weren't going to look at that. They said they wouldn't take action. The stewards haven't taken action. Piastri's driving angry. Norris has damage to his front wing. Other than that, really, I mean, Tsunoda lost 4 places on the first few laps. We saw Bearman overtake Tsunoda in one of those moments, but it's been quite a static. You'll know what I mean when I say it, Red Raven. Typical Singapore, really, at the moment. Just sort of 1.5, 2 second gaps to everybody. Nothing much happening, but we also know it's a very long, demanding race. So pit stops as well, in case you didn't know. Verstappen, Hamilton's in now. Leclerc, Bearman, Hadjar, Colapinto, Tsunoda and Bortoletto. But yeah. So, I'm watching Hamilton. He's ahead of Lawson. So he's got see, that's worked a bit better for Hamilton, but he's still behind Hulkenberg. Goodness me. But that's helped Verstappen, because now he's got a bit more of a gap to Antonelli to close down. 5.7 seconds. He's still got clear air as Max. Gasly in the pits as well from his miserable 19th place in that shocking car. Bearman were... Yes, Bearman has jumped Hadjar. Good spot again there. Hamilton's stop. Slow on the right front, which doesn't help him really, does it? Might have. Would he got ahead of Hulkenberg? Probably not. We've got a Mercedes pit stop, and that's going to have to be Antonelli, surely, to react to... No, Russell's in. I thought they'd react with Antonelli to the Ferrari, so Russell's in. That's... I guess that's to try and stop... Well, that's going to give them... Yeah, the Ferrari gap that's opened up. As Antonelli calls, yeah, so Antonelli could jump out the way if he does end up ahead of Russell, which he might not here. No, he won't. Antonelli pits anyway. Verstappen in the background just coming around the final corner. So Russell's pitted. I guess that's to stop Norris trying to undercut and gain a couple of seconds on fresher tyres. That's smart from Mercedes. Also, they have the gap behind Piastri. Now he can push like crazy, can Russell. Track position, of course, so important. But 35.8 for Verstappen on that lap. Norris a 37.1. So it's not working for Norris, who is being told... Oh. So Norris has been asked if he's willing to let Piastri pit a lap before him because they need to cover Leclerc. I think Norris said yes there. So Norris... I mean, so they are going to pit Norris first. So if Oscar falls behind Leclerc now, get your conspiracy theories ready because I'll listen to them. Because they wouldn't do that in Monza, would they? But at least they asked Norris. So from Norris's point of view, they were fair on that. But if Piastri, I mean, what is the gap? I mean, what? 4, 13. He's not under threat from Leclerc, really, is he? Really? I don't think. Look, it depends how slow the pit stops are at McLaren today, doesn't it, I suppose? But yeah, Leclerc is ahead of Antonelli, of course. I think he was ahead of Antonelli anyway, wasn't he? Unless I'm mistaken. No, it wasn't. That is an undercut. So good stuff from Ferrari there. Good stop from McLaren. Goodness me. Norris will be relieved. They didn't change the front wing. I suppose they can't really, can they? Because that's going to put them... it's going to cost them another 10 seconds to their stop, so they can't really do that. And Verstappen is comfortably clear. So that hasn't really worked. And the tyre delta... I mean, it's 7 laps, but... it's not a massive delta, is it? 17 laps, I'd be a bit concerned for Max, but... the gap as well, by the way, Verstappen now only 3.5 seconds behind George Russell. So Red Bull, that's why Russell had to pit. Not so much to worry about Norris undercut, because Max was coming at him at that speed. Wow. So a lot closer. Interesting. Engine issue, 3 to 4 tenths a lap. I'm really sorry. Then told him it's back. What the hell went wrong with the engine again, says Hadjar. So he had an issue. Then it was back, and we don't know what's happening with Hadjar, so at least not the only Italians who are struggling with things like that. There you go. Yes, Russell has pitted. Russell has pitted. In fact, actually, Piastri, Alonso, Lawson, Stroll, Ocon, Sainz, and Albon are all yet to stop, just to confirm. So Piastri's leading. In he comes for his pit stop. So he will be behind Norris. I don't know why Ted Kravitz needed to confirm that, given that he was behind him anyway. And slow left rear for Piastri. Very slow left rear. 5.2 seconds. That's going to put him in trouble here. I think he might be okay. Leclerc being tucked behind Alonso is really going to help him here, and then Leclerc does get through as Alonso pits. Piastri's okay, yeah, but that was a long stop for Piastri there. Very long stop. It's always quite... it's a bit jarring sometimes. If you're watching on La Televisione, you will know. I don't know why I said it like that. Why not? But it's always quite jarring because Ted's a little bit ahead of the live coverage, isn't he? That we're seeing. They're slow on the right front for Alonso as well. Really slow on the right front. It won't go on. There we go. Very slow stop for Alonso. 9.2 for him. So a nightmare for Fernando. But Ted's telling you what's happening before he's even in his box. It always throws me off a little bit. So yeah, that's hurt Fernando big time. That's put him now behind Isaac Hadjar and only just ahead of Franco Colapinto. That's a shame for Fernando. Sod State McLaren really trying to snap defeat from the jaws of victory, says Ash. Lando needs to slow down by 3 seconds, says Vesk. And Clansom says, zzz, as in asleep, not like he's a bee or anything. He might be a bee, I don't know, but there you go. I assume Clansom is a human being. I'm sure they'll let me know. Yeah, so it was to the right. I mean, the right front was slow off, but it was the left rear that would not come off and then was straight on. So that's why that was 5 seconds. Apparently they were, I think Ted said they were celebrating the fact they had such a great start with Lando. So maybe wait to celebrate until you've actually got both of your cars, sorted before you start celebrating too early. Goodness me. But yeah, 9.8 seconds now, Norris to Piastri. So Piastri just needs to sort of bank these points now. I can't see, and I hope these are famous last words, I can't see him catching Lando. He's not really had the pace today, has he? And after what happened in Baku, he just needs to bank the points. And yes, all right, he's losing 6 to Verstappen at least, and he's losing 6 now to Verstappen, and he's going to lose a couple to Norris, but it's been a bad couple of weekends, not been a great couple of weekends for him, so if he can get the points on the board, that's what matters today. So bring it home. There might be opportunities, and we're only on lap 29. We've got 34 of this left. Arian's a B as well. There you go. Is Bearman nailed on for P8, or is there a divergence of 1 to 2 stoppers? When did Bearman pit? No, Bearman should be okay. He's just pitted, hasn't he? So 5 laps on those hards. He'll get ahead of Sainz, Ocon, Stroll. Yeah, he should be good for P8 here. It's just whether or not Hadjar's got the pace, depending on whether that issue rectifies itself or comes back even. So I think Bearman's on for P8 today. 34 to go, Alonso told. If you speak to me every lap, I will disconnect the radio, says Fernando. Fernando wants to go home. He's had enough. He won't be happy with that, but there you go. We've all got an inner Fernando Alonso, haven't we? There you go. Just Fernando's great. He's great fun. Should we run through the order? It's something to do, isn't it? So, what's happening with Antonelli and Leclerc? Antonelli seems to close really quickly on the driver track there. It might be that concertina effect. It was indeed, yes. So, but Antonelli is on Leclerc. So just watch this for a second. They're coming on to the long run between 5 and 7, or Raffles Boulevard, as Crofty will tell you 32 times a day, at least. He's not going to get in there, is he? DRS doesn't even long enough down there, but then you can't really make it any longer, can you? Anyway, Russell leading 3.8 clear of Verstappen. That gap was 9 seconds at one point at the front, so that's come down. Norris 4.4 further back, with Piastri 9.6 back from there. Leclerc is 5th, 4.6 behind Piastri and falling back. Getting on for a second a lap, actually, to be fair. Antonelli is all over the back of Leclerc now, 7/10. Hamilton 5.7 back. Lawson, I think Hamilton had a slow stop, didn't he? 10.9. 11.1 now back to Lawson, sorry. In 8th place, 9th place for Stroll, 2.2 behind, 1.3 to Ocon, 9/10 back to Sainz. Then it's Bearman, 1.3 behind in 12th, but I think he's about net P8 here. If I said Hadjar earlier, I meant Lawson, by the way. I was looking at the colour and not the name of the driver there. Albon, 13th, 4 seconds behind Bearman. Hadjar, 3.8 behind Albon. Alonso, 2.5 behind Hadjar. Colapinto, 1.1 behind Alonso. Tsunoda 7/10 off Colapinto. Hulkenberg 1.2 off Tsunoda. Bortoletto 1.3 off Hulkenberg. Gasly 4.4 off Bortoletto. There you go, Mark. What happened with Alonso? He had a slow pit stop, very slow pit stop on the right. Was it the right front? We were watching it, weren't we? It was about 9 seconds. So that's why he lost all that time and fell down. Ocon pits, by the way, from P10, and that moves Sainz into 10th and Bearman up to 11th. So Leclerc doesn't have any pace here, does he, at all? What, a 1:36.4. I mean, Verstappen, by the way, last that 4/10 quicker than Russell. So Verstappen seems happier on his hard tyre than he was on the soft, which is interesting. It might come alive yet, this one, but this is the battle at the moment that matters for anything. Leclerc versus Antonelli, and Leclerc doesn't seem... He's picked up the pace this lap, but he doesn't seem like he's got an answer for Antonelli, but it's a street track. Got to get past. Tough to do. Pete says, hello everyone. Hey Pete, hope you well, mate. Says, what we think of the race so far? I think it's rather shit, is what Pete says. Fair enough. We're about halfway, 31 to go, 32 laps we're on. So in the chat, out of 10, well done Pete, this is perfect timing. What would you give this race out of 10 at the halfway stage? And then we'll see if we can compare that to what we all think come the end. So one obviously being, why did I even bother to wake up? Because it's nearly 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so you should be up if you're in Europe, but unless you work nights, of course. And 10 being, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my damn life. Wow. I need to watch this again this afternoon. I'm intrigued. Yes, they have pitted. They have both pitted. Russell, in fact, the only ones who haven't pitted now, Lawson, Stroll, Sainz, and Albon. Everyone else has made a stop. So, there we go. Some interesting scores in there. Ash says a solid 6. Tommy says 3.5. Lewis says 5. Warren says 4. 4 at Mo says Fud. Neelish has gone with 2. Mo San has gone with 5. Yinka's gone with 5. Red Raven is hungover as hell, and this race isn't helping. Mark says 2.5 because it's halfway to the 5. I will give it at the end. There you go. 10 says Firebrand, to be honest, but to be honest, I'm still hungover. There you go. Still dreaming about last night. Neely says maybe it's because I missed the first 8 laps, but all 5s and 6 seem very generous. Pro says 3, and Ali said I say 8, as this is my first time watching. So there you go. I mean, even you missed the first 8 laps, Neelish, but apart from the McLarens banging wheels at turn 1 and then Oscar getting angry over the radio, you didn't miss a vast amount there, to be honest. Unless there's something I'm missing. Did I miss the greatest overtake of all time, you know, somewhere? But I don't think I did. Ocon passing Tsunoda was what I recall, and a bit of some hard defending between Hadjar and Alonso. It wasn't... Yeah, Alfie's giving it a 10 because it's the best sleep app out there. There you go. We might see some action now. We've got Ollie Bearman on the back of Carlos Sainz here, with Lance Stroll just ahead. So Bearman, I'll tell you, whoever asked earlier, Bearman is a solid P8 here, because he's got Lawson's only just up the road, and they've all yet to stop, and he's already pitted. So, and he's only done 9 laps on the tyre, so they should easily go to the end from here. So he's in a good position here, Bearman. He doesn't need to do anything crazy, but he also won't want to allow those who have pitted, like Hadjar and Alonso, the chance to close up. But he's got gaps to them, so yeah. Good weekend so far for Bearman, have to say. I'll stick it in the wall now, I said that. But yeah, it was good in qualifying yesterday, and he's having a good race here, so one to keep an eye on. I'd put it at 3 so far, says Pete. There you go. Pete set us all off on that one and rounds it off nicely. There we go. I mean, Warren said... Do you know what, actually? Warren makes a really good point. I'll keep an eye on this. Warren says, we're still talking about turn 1, and there's been 512 turns since. Has to be a slightly below average rating. There you go. It's a good point. We're still talking about that first 1 or 2 corners, and we're on lap 34. So maybe that tells you all you need to know. But yeah, good move from... but yeah, that was it. Bearman made a move on Albon. That's the other one I was thinking of. I knew there was a third one. We might see one here now between... I mean, Stroll's involved. Sainz is there. Bearman as well. Could get quite spicy, this one. And to be fair, I will say, I know they haven't pitted yet, but actually, the Williams pair did start. I mean, Sainz was last and Albon was in the pits. If they can get anything out of this race, you know, top 12, 13, 14 places, it's not actually a bad result, is it? It's just not any points. What's Gasly done? Has he scraped the wall here? I don't know what we're just staring at a replay of the wall now, rather than anything happening. Does he just brush it, or is it a bit of a wallop? Similar to Norris, but a bit harder with the right rear. 2.8 the gap at the front, by the way. So Verstappen is close. Yeah, definitely much happier on his hards than the softs, wasn't he? But I can't imagine there's much life left in the softs. And what I would say, Norris is also as quick as Verstappen. So we're getting to a point here. Can you remember a couple of years ago where we had, was it Sainz? I can't remember what it was now. There were like 3 or 4 cars. The 2 Mercedes were coming through as well at speed, weren't they? That was one where George hit the wall. We might have that again here where they all close up right towards the end and it all gets a bit dramatic. So keep an eye on that one. McLaren said drink on the radio to Norris. So I'm going to take that prompt. There you go. Give me 15 seconds and I'll be back with you. There we go. All done. It was a replay of the paint drying, says Alfie Alf. There you go. I hope everyone had a drink. Remember to hydrate. Stay hydrated. It's very muggy here in Lincoln. Very, very, very hot today. I mean, what are we at? 16 degrees. Had Storm Amy yesterday, which was very dramatic. I think my wheelie bin fell over at one point. It still warranted pretty much wall-to-wall news coverage. Not my wheelie bin. Was it 12 seconds? Nice. Good stop. That's a good stop, that is. I'm happy with that. 12 seconds. Please do drop a like, by the way. We're on 77. So a few more, and we'll get to that magic 100 mark that stops Sean asking you for them. So please do drop a like. Would really appreciate it. It just helps in the algorithm and all of that business, and reminds me that people do want to watch these, so that's all right. So yeah, likes appreciated, and subscribe as well. There was some stuff I was going to talk about. I might talk about it later, but I won't tell you everything until everything's sorted, and then I'll talk about it a bit later down the line. We'll see how we go, but yeah, what we got? It's still Bearman behind Sainz at the moment. Verstappen, good response actually from Russell. 1:35.8, a little bit quicker, very, very slightly quicker than Verstappen. So good response there. Verstappen marginally quicker on that last lap than Norris as well. Piastri, I mean, Piastri's in and around the same lap times as Norris and co. So he's not out of this, but 9 seconds back, going to be tough, isn't it? The hard seems like a because who was it that said that? Was it Warren said that Tsunoda was struggling on the hards for pace, but everyone else seems to be pretty okay on it. So maybe it's Tsunoda doesn't like that tyre rather than it being a poor race tyre or a weaker race tyre. I suspect they'd all quite like to run the mediums as long as possible, but Pete says, God, the TV director really loves Rebecca Donaldson this weekend. Yeah. I don't know why we have to cut away from the action to see people in the pits. I'll never understand. Unless it's, mechanics getting ready for a stop. But count how many times we cut to things like the pits. Where's Verstappen's pace gone? Verstappen's just lost a couple of seconds. He did a 37.7 that lap. It's now 2.2 to Norris and 4.7 to Russell. Have we had a mistake from Verstappen? I'm guessing he's going to go a bit hot here. Does it? Oh, very, very similar to what Lando did last year. Said it's the car shit to drive by the sounds of it, is what he's saying. But yeah, that was very similar to Lando last year. Very nearly in the wall there, but held that well. So yeah, that was a moment. That's Ocon having a look around the outside of the Alpine at turn 16. That's ballsy. And there goes Hadjar up the inside of Alonso. Is he going to squeeze him out? He does indeed, and that's a nice move to move Hadjar into. Brace yourself. P13. Alonso's coming back at him, though. In fact, Alonso is coming back at him, and he's going to have a go around the outside of turn 16. I said it was ballsy last time when Ocon was trying it. Alonso's trying it and hasn't quite got it done. Hadjar just stays ahead, goes defensive into 18. And then 19 Verstappen. Oh, yeah, very twitchy there from Alonso. Sorry, not Verstappen. Hadjar trying to break the turbo. Alonso got a great run off the fight. Has Hadjar got a problem with that engine still? Because I know Alonso's got DRS, but he was really quickly alongside him down that straight. Has Hadjar still got this problem? He was, lighting up the rear tyres from Alonso there. And Hadjar lose that. Yeah, I think Hadjar's still got a problem here. Or... no, because they're both pitted, haven't they? It's not a tyre thing, maybe. We'll find out now. Is Hadjar going to come back at him? No. Hadjar falling away with DRS. So whatever's going on with Hadjar is still going on, is my point there. But that was exciting. Some drama. Some excitement. Trophy for the hero of the race is Alonso. So obviously Hadjar is struggling. I mean, let's say he's only 8 tenths behind now, but maybe in a straight line. It's Verstappen's lap time deleted. Turn 2, lap 37. Stroll going defensive on Sainz here. So Sainz is going to get a run, I'd imagine. I sort of wouldn't mind something happening here. Not like I'm like a huge accident or anything crazy like that. Just a bit more of that Alonso Hadjar stuff, but elsewhere in the field. I mean, this is good stuff. Verstappen, really, I mean, he's losing time again. 5 seconds now after the lead, 1.7 clear of Norris. So not happening. Not happening for Verstappen now. Clearly struggling with that car. Verstappen's struggling with something, isn't it? Is it downshifts still? So struggling to get the car slowed down. But this is what... so this is... I mean, Hadjar's... that's fine. I know what Fernando's on about, but... It's... I want to say this... here we go. We're going to get it from the onboard of Hadjar. Alonso lighting up those rear tyres coming through. Oh, good driving. Lovely stuff. Lovely and sideways. Yes, Warren, an on-track overtake. Let's not get too excited. I think Norris is going to be... I mean, if Norris gets a run at Verstappen, this is going to be interesting, but... so Max... I mean, Max does a 1:36.0, so he's quicker than the leader and matching Norris. So when everything's working, he's quite happy with that pace, but... Piastri the fastest final sector, by the way, so he's coming back at those ahead. In fact, half a second quicker than Norris on that lap. So It would be nice, wouldn't it, to have Russell, Verstappen, Norris and Piastri all nose to tail with sort of 10 laps to go. That could be quite fun. Cork of the day seems to be Stroll. Yeah, he's the lead train in the DRS train. Sainz is carriage one. Then it's Bearman and Albon. Albon now in that one, which is good. But don't forget Sainz as well, as Stroll, Lawson and Albon have yet to stop. So they are... I guess from a Williams point of view, it's all they could do given where they started. But they do very much feel like their safety car hanging at the moment. So as Stroll pits, as I say that, where's Nelson Piquet Jr. when you need him, eh? But yeah. Yes, Stroll run the soft stall that far, but the Aston seem to be all right. They're able to do that on any tyre, don't they? Run really, really long. So which app do you mean, Harry? Sorry. If you mean the app with the timing on, that's Multiviewer for F1. I think they just call themselves Multiviewer now. But yeah, if that's the app you mean, mate, that's the one it is. If not, let me know which one you mean, and I'll try and let you know. How is Fernando out the point? It says to Kiru. Slow pit stop. One of the tyres wouldn't go on. 9 point something stop, so that's why he's dropped back. We're 6 away from 100, by the way, so thank you, everyone. We're nearly there. We should be able to do that. You're all stars. Thank you very much. The rears, it was competitive rears there, Max. Stroll waiting for a crash that never came, yeah. And then bottled it, but still, that's impressive. I mean, 38 laps on the soft tyre. It's impressive. However, he is now 20th, so was that worth it? Yeah. It's something with the name, Lando and Fernando. That's why they get bad stops with with the pit stops. Lap time wise, leaders pretty much matching each other. Norris a second quicker than not a second, sorry, 3/10 quicker than both of them. Piastri 3/10 quicker than his teammate. That's what I was looking for. Struggling in dirty air already, says Norris. So told that Verstappen's struggling in clean air, so put pressure on him. But interesting that Norris notices the dirty air. It was quite funny after the race yesterday. He said, after qualifying, he said that in response to Verstappen annoyed about the dirty air, he said, what was it he said? He said, I'm not surprised, they're always complaining. And I thought, I like the mind games in F1. But McLaren drivers saying that Red Bull always complain, or McLaren saying Red Bull always complain, is quite amusing to me. I imagine Zach Brown will have another rant at some point about Red Bull having a second team, because they never complain, McLaren. In fact, if you could find me a team on the grid that don't complain, then I'll tell you you're wrong. They all complain. Someday we will understand, says Hansy, just what exactly is the purpose of Stroll. Which one? Go Leclerc in the chat there. That rear camera shot though, says Ash. Lovely. I mean, onboard camera shots around street circuits are generally pretty cool anyway, can't they? McLaren should swap the cars. Piastri's slow stop was unfair, says Perplexed. And Haas since Steiner left have been pretty tame, says Red Raven. I mean, the drivers have a moan, don't they, from time to time, so they're still part of that team. But certainly less so than it used to be under Steiner, but there's definitely a fair whack of moaning over the years, generally speaking. But you have to remember as well, we don't hear a lot of Haas, Sauber, Alpine, Team Radio, do we? It's all the front runners we tend to hear about. So if they were at the front, we might hear quite a lot of whining from people. I'll tell you what, Lando was nearly in the wall again at 17. Pushing hard. At the minute, Norris closes in on Piastri by 3 points. Verstappen closes in by 6. We'd be at 336, 314 and 273 as your top three in the championship. That front wing bit still, I mean, that end fence is clinging on for dear life, isn't it, on that McLaren? It's doing all right, though. Jamie says, you know what I could go for? Pancakes, lol. Safety car would be nice. A Polestar 3, says Kevin. Polestar 3. I know the brand, and I'm trying to picture the car. Excuse the Googling. 3. Okay. I've not seen it. I must have seen a 3 at some point. And that's taken 2 weeks to get to you. Kevin, complain. Gotta complain, mate. Is it interesting so far, says Sighted Canvas? There've been some moments. It seems to be. We keep getting teased with it warming up a bit. Verstappen at one point was much closer to Russell after all the stops, and then he made a mistake, and now that's kind of ended that. And Norris has now dropped back on Verstappen, so that's now ended that. And ironically, given how this race has gone, if you'd watched from the start, ironically, the biggest threat to the top 3 at the moment is Oscar Piastri. He is a lot quicker at the moment. So Albon off the track with a lockup. I'm going to cough 2 secs. Don't want to do that on camera. That's never pretty. Yeah. Turn 2 was interesting at the start, with the McLarens coming together. But yeah, on that lap, by the way, 30. Nobody's in the 20s. If they are, that's impressive. 37 flat for Russell, 36.4 as we've got side by side between a Sauber there and what looks like Gasly. It is indeed. Getting a bit feisty now. So we're starting to see some action. But this is, I will remind you, the battle for 16th. And maybe 15th if we throw Colapinto in there. The balance is completely out again. It's unbelievable, or undrivable, sorry, says Verstappen. But yeah, 37 flat for Russell, 36.4 for Verstappen, 36.6 for Norris, 35.9 for Piastri. So there we go. This is going to be Alonso having a go around the outside. Nice attempt, but there's a massive lock up there. He's going to have to pit for that, surely. Flat spotted those, Albon. And he is in the pits. Yeah, that's his first stop, to be fair. So, yeah, and this is going to be Tsunoda. So wide, I'm guessing, for a little bit wide there. Ooh. What was Colapinto doing there? What was Colapinto doing there? I mean, he's struggling with his car. He has pitted. Tsunoda goes through. I want to see that again. Sorry. I hope nothing happens while I'm doing this, but I'm not sure what Colapinto was doing. He comes through 16, goes deep for 17, and then almost slams the brakes on the exit for some reason. And, oh, nearly. Yeah. Have I missed something there with Colapinto? A problem? Or was he trying to back end out or something? I don't know. But, yeah. That was messy. Interesting. A bit of debris flying off, says Ash. I don't know where that came off, but these squabbling here that I was mentioning, Tsunoda, Colapinto, Hulkenberg, Bortoleto, Gasly, Ocon. I've got the leader behind them, by the way. They're all bumping into each other and whatnot. We now think we should take the safety car for a soft tyre. Just let me know if you strongly agree. So I don't know what to do right now. You do whatever you think is best, says Piastri. I don't think Oscar's very happy. And there goes Russell past the Haas. So Verstappen, this is the trouble. You know, traffic's a bit weird in Singapore. Russell is making his way through it slowly, but goodness me, they're all squabbling for very exciting positions. So the problem is he's driving an Alpine, says Warren. That's a fair point. Yeah. What's up with Colapinto? He's in an Alpine. Yeah. I mean, what an embarrassing team that is at the minute. I've said this before. I will always love the Enstone team and have a soft spot for them because of, you know, the championships with Schumacher and whatnot. And, you know, they'll always be the Enstone team, whatever they call themselves. But it's... oh, we've got a spinning Hulkenberg, but he's not in the wall. Can he keep that going? He's in a puddle. Yeah, he's got going again. There you go. There's been more damage to his front wing. Sorry, if I scared you there, that was about as exciting as the race got. That was Hulkenberg spinning down at turn 7. He's okay. He's got going again. No need for a safety car. Anyway, we'll wait for a replay of that, which we might get quite soon because there's nothing else to replay. Here we go. So he's going to get a run down to turn 7. What's he done? Oh, he's hit the brakes on. He's hit the brakes and then just... As he had to wallop... Was that Alpine slowing down a bit more than he expected, so he had to slam the brakes on? Maybe, but... the point I was going to make, really, was that, you know, soft spot for that team, not being awful to them, but they are such a mess at the minute and quite embarrassing, to the point where they're abandoning their own bloody engine program and going to Mercedes power, which I understand. You'd want engine power from Mercedes if you could, but, yeah, just quite strange for a works team to do that, and some of their driver decisions have been interesting, and, yeah, just a mess. Just a mess. Red Raver says, Colapinto's general results in driving are proving to me that Jack Doohan deserves another chance. All that traffic has been beneficial to Max, says Monkey Memes. And Jamie says, boo, we want a safety car. Russell is losing a lot of time in traffic, to be fair. But I would say Verstappen's not exactly cruising through it. It's all where you catch it, isn't it? If you catch the traffic on the run to turn 7, you've got a great chance of passing one or two. If you catch them over the bridge, you're in trouble. And the trouble is, Piastri's closing in. I mean, what is it now? 5.4. So he's 0.3 quicker the last lap. But he's then got to get through all this traffic himself. So it tends to even out, more or less. So Sky saying downshift issues for Verstappen, they believe. So it is that thing that he was talking about on the radio earlier in the race that's probably causing the problems. But Norris is at his teammate. He's hit the back of Verstappen. He's hit the wall as well at one point. So nobody really, and Verstappen's been struggling a lot now, but nobody really, apart from George Russell, having the cleanest of races. He's just sort of disappeared, hasn't he, for much of it, and has had this under control. But Verstappen's struggling a lot. I mean, he can really back Norris up here if he needs to. It's tough to overtake. But what's the issue with... Listening while we're on board. As he's half a second slower than Russell, to be fair, and Norris, who is 1.1 seconds quicker than Piastri. So here's the problem for Norris now. This is where Norris is losing his time. How aggressive is Verstappen going to be here? So Norris is going to get the run at him. Verstappen doesn't have DRS on the back marker, so here goes Norris having a look, does he? No, he doesn't, but he does clear the back marker. On to the soft tyre goes Lewis Hamilton. In the pits he goes. He may as well from where he is. He's got the gap to the car behind, so he may as well go for it. Nothing to lose. Thing is, I mean, what's Piastri 35.9, 37.5 for Verstappen? So Piastri's going to be at Verstappen at the end of the race at this speed. So Sky talking now about if Norris can pass Piastri, Norris can pass Verstappen, it'll be 6 points rather than 3 to Piastri, and that'll make a big difference. But then Verstappen's just going backwards now, isn't he? So Piastri could easily catch him and pass him as well. Well, catch him. Catching Max Verstappen is one thing. Passing Max Verstappen is definitely another. And so here's the run now to 16. Norris has the DRS. Is he going to go for it? No, he's not. I wouldn't have gone for it in there either, to be honest, to be fair on that hand. It's the run to turn 7 that's going to be interesting here. I think, Verstappen's in real bother here, I think. And, yeah. He needs the DRS on the back, Marcus, as Max. He's not going to get it, though, is he? Martin Brundle's doing his one from his playbook about how, the second car generally could just follow the lead car through in traffic, which helps Lando a bit here. That can go wrong, though, if the other car that you're lapping hasn't seen you. I'm sort of intrigued by where this is going to go now. Actually, Hamilton, by the way, purple middle and final sector on his outlap. So those soft tyres are going to be pretty rapid to start with. He has got 21 seconds to make up on Antonelli. Clancy confirms the human bee. There you go. Oh, dearie me. I mean, if Verstappen hangs on here, Alonso goes 8th, by the way. So my prediction of Bearman being a solid 8th isn't really working, is it? That time in traffic isn't helping him. And look how close Norris is to the back of Verstappen now. He's as close as he was before, but it just feels closer now for some reason. It is DRS for Verstappen, which helps him here in defence. Piastri on the radio. I have 8 cars within 10 seconds, massive following. It's like starting a race in the middle of the pack, is what is being told. Hulkenberg and Colapinto reviewed, no further action. Yeah, I don't know what to say. We're just watching this now, see what happens. I think Russell, barring a safety car or a mistake or something like that, or a mechanical problem, should be home and dry with the win. There's now a back marker between Verstappen and Norris. And I'll tell you what as well, Verstappen got the DRS, which will help him. Norris should be past that Alpine pretty quickly, and he is indeed. So Verstappen now has a bit of clear air, so that's good. There's no traffic now until Tsunoda, which should be quite easy for Verstappen to get past, I would imagine. But I do wonder if it might be trickier for Norris to get past Tsunoda. I'm not saying Red Bull might play that game, but, you know, you never know. I would. We're watching the Formula One Singapore Grand Prix, says Fudd. Piastri still not totally happy on the radio. Can you explain why some sections on the track are coloured blue, red, and yellow, and also why some sections have horizontal lines? So the your red sector, your red section is sector 1, so that's your first sector of the lap. The blue is sector 2, and then the yellow is sector 3, and then the green lines on there, that's the DRS zones. So when they're green, it means that DRS is active. When it's not green, I think it's grey or white, then it is not active. So it's the sectors for the lap. So sector 1, sector 2, sector 3 are different colours. It's the same one. I think it's the same colours as the official map as well, actually, to be fair. So with Max holding up Norris, it's helping Piastri catch up to Norris. Gap Piastri to Norris is now 5 seconds, so something's happened. Piastri in traffic, that's the trouble. He's struggling to get through. So that gap was down to about 3 point something. It's now up to 5.3 again. So Norris half a second off Verstappen. This is a straight fight now between these two because there is no traffic at this stage. But they are going to catch Tsunoda, Hadjar, Bearman, Sainz pretty quickly. Yeah, I keep going back and forth on it, Fudd. I quite like the DRS there for the track map on the stream. But if I was watching it on my own, I probably wouldn't have the DRS because I know where the zones are, but it's handy for the stream, I think. So Ted's making a good point as well. The McLaren about to win the Constructors. I've not talked about it because I don't care because it's been done for months, but it's just mathematically getting it done. How are McLaren going to debrief what happened at turn 2 when they're celebrating the championship? That's going to be is juxtaposition the right phrase? Maybe not, but you know, it's going to be quite different, isn't it? You're going to have in one corner, you're going to be like, yeah, we're champions, and another corner, I hate you all. There you go. I mean, look, I can't get excited about the Constructors generally. I'm much like Kevin in that respect, if we're being honest. But also this year, it's like, oh, McLaren could win the title this weekend. It's like, yeah, it's been done for about 6 months, but they're finally there. It's just not, you know, it's inevitable, the McLaren championship. It's not like, you know, if they didn't score today, Mercedes would have to score 31 points and Ferrari would need 35 to keep it alive. So it was done before we got to this weekend. So just not very exciting, really. But, you know, here we are. It'll be good to see them do it. They're second in a row. And when was the last time McLaren went back-to-back in Constructors Championships? I'm thinking must be back to the Senna Prost days. Surely. Because they won the drivers in 98 in the Constructors, but didn't win the Constructors in 99. Didn't win the Constructors in 2008. Won the drivers in 2008. That was it, wasn't it? Yeah. So it must have been the Senna Prost days. 90 and 91. There you go, Jamie. So not quite Senna and Prost, but Senna days certainly. Yeah. Wow. Piastri's dropping back 6.5. It's the traffic has really hurt him there. I hope it's the traffic and not a problem. He's got 11.1 to Leclerc. Sainz finally pits on lap 52 of 60. So that's 49 laps on the medium tyres. I'll say it again, Pirelli. That is too many laps. I understand, and somebody made the point in the comments to the preview on Thursday, I understand their concerns about the C6 and going softer because it wouldn't hold up. But if it doesn't hold up, then you pit and change tyres. That's the point. That's too many laps. That's too many. I know his pace wasn't great, but not that I want them falling apart, but, you know, yeah. If you can pretty much take a set of mediums a whole race distance on a track like this in these conditions and whatnot, then, yeah. I think Norris just likes being behind Max as a yinker. He likes running to the back of him as well. That could have been a disaster for both of them, couldn't it? Yuki 11th is what sits in the race as somehow. There you go. He's only half a second off a point, which would be surprising given how much he seemed to be struggling earlier on. Maybe that early stop did help him out. He was, again, 4/10 quicker than the leader at one stage, wasn't he? Or at least his teammate. What? There's still 6 races to go. I don't think Norris needs to send this on Verstappen. But if he gets a sniff, he's got to go for it, right? He's beating his teammate today. It's only 3 points, but with 6 races still to go, he can still turn it around. What he can't afford is a DNF, is my point. So if he gets a sniff, he's got to go for it. But he can't just go banzai move up the inside, and that's the end of that. Yuki chasing down Hadjar. What's the lap times? 140.2, 38.6. Yeah, Hadjar's still struggling, isn't he? So if you are just tuning in, Hadjar had an issue with his car earlier, losing 3 or 4 tenths a lap on the engine or the power unit. Then it came back. Then it was not working. So we don't know whether it is working, but looking at his lap times, he's not got everything, has he? 3.8 stop for Gasly, so that's slow. But he's made a second stop now onto a set of soft tyres. Maybe just preempting some sort of action. I don't know, but what? I mean, Antonelli's 6 tenths, by the way, off Leclerc. Hamilton 8 seconds behind Hamilton. That's the battle. Alonso 48 seconds further back and 10 seconds clear of Bearman. So yeah, not looking. I mean, what are the battles? It is really just this one for P2. What Piastri can do, which I don't think is going to be a lot in the time left. Antonelli versus Leclerc. Can Hamilton catch Antonelli? And then really it's that final point, isn't it? Colapinto 12.8 behind Tsunoda, by the way, and quicker than him. 8 tenths quicker on a set of tyres that are mediums versus hards of the same life. So what are we watching here? That's Verstappen going defensive. So Norris did have a go at Verstappen to the outside there. Having a go. Just hoping. As I said, he passes Leclerc. There we go. He is past Charles Leclerc on 3-4 lap fresher tyres. So not much in that, but enough. Piastri is, I think that's the point that was just being made there by Martin Brundle. Piastri now only 3.2 behind Piastri. Just to compare lap times, behind Norris. To compare lap times, Verstappen 37.6, Norris 37.8, Piastri 35.5. 1.2 and 1.3 seconds quicker than the two ahead. Piastri's flying, but they did have to deal with Tsunoda, which I can't imagine was too much of a problem for Verstappen, but that probably helped Norris as well in the end. We saw the Antonelli pass picture in picture, but we've not seen a full screenshot of it, which would be nice. I'd like to see the overtake. Yes, this is an important battle to watch, but When we're through the corners in particular, we could go to a nice replay of Leclerc being passed by Antonelli. Next up for the Verstappen-Norris battle and Piastri as well is Hadjar to be lapped. Lewis now 3.1 behind Leclerc and 4 seconds quicker on that lap than his teammate. What's up with Leclerc today? The pace hasn't been there at all, has it? Really? I know he's been passed by Antonelli, so maybe that cost him a bit of time, but 4 seconds? I'm reading that right. Yeah, 4 seconds. Tsunoda now 7.6 behind Hadjar. Is that because of him letting the leaders through? Because he was definitely catching him, wasn't he? Punch him a death, sorry. Piastri next race is going to be in his villain arc after this race. I hope Papaya rules are not back ever again. It's going to be fun, isn't it? Going forward from here. As I think Ash said it in chat earlier, the battle lines have been drawn now. So, you know, last weekend or last race, let's say, Piastri might have given Norris a little bit more than a car's width at the start, but I can guarantee you from Cota onwards, he won't be doing. You'll get a car's width and no more if you're lucky. Basically. As it should be, to be fair. Please confirm the situation is clear on Max. Yes, thank you. I assume the situation is just going to be let him go. Don't hold him up in the slightest. I can't imagine it's anything more dodgy than that. Not that's dodgy, but there you go. Interesting. 3 seconds of gap Norris to Piastri. So Piastri closing in a bit less that lap, but still half a second. So 7 to go. I'm not really expecting Piastri to really take this to these two, but he's close enough that if anything happens, he's there to capitalise, isn't he? So that's interesting. Hamilton passed Leclerc and is now chasing Antonelli. 2.8 seconds is the gap. I mean, Hadjar isn't letting Verstappen through quickly, so it's obviously not going to be a dirty air message. I assume the situation is when he gets on your backside, you let him go and don't hold him up. I can't imagine it's let him go and then block the hell out of Lando Norris. It might be. I don't know. But there goes Verstappen. And Hadjar also lets Norris straight through. So it was just don't hold him up. So that's fine. Well, that ends that rough conspiracy theory that was inevitably going to be starting on socials at some point. I mean, Piastri 2.8 behind. So I'm not like, if it stays clean to the end of the race, I don't think there's enough time for Piastri to do anything about Norris. But if, you know, Norris goes a bit deep into a corner, gets it a bit wrong, you know, like last year, don't forget the mistakes he was making was out front leading. Any of those, and he's close enough to capitalise, isn't he? So that's kind of the point. That's all he can do at the moment. 6 to go. We've got a snazzy new graphic. For some reasons, tell us 6 to go because people can't deduct 57 from 62, apparently. But there you go. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I am never going to be a fan of the dumbing down of Formula One, but here we are. Unfortunately for Yuki, the leading pack is taking about 40 years to lap Hadjar, says Boom Spoon. Yeah. It's 4.4 the gap now, so Tsunoda is closing in still. Norris has now got the gap down to 0.6 of a second to Verstappen. I'll also sort of say, I imagine Piastri sat there thinking, I wouldn't mind these two running into each other right now. Do you know what, actually? That's a great point, Boom Spoon. I think Alonso has driven great today. I mean, he had the slow pit stop, didn't he? 9 seconds, and he's 10 seconds up the road from Bearman, so he's got all of that back. Has driven really well. 29 laps on the mediums. He did 30 laps on the softs as well. He has driven really well and thoroughly deserves that 8th place. But I think Bearman's driven well as well. There's been some good drives in that midfield today and some good driving. So after all those red flags in Baku, we now have had a race without a safety car to sit us in a race. Is that 2 in a row? Did we get a safety car in Baku? Is that 2 in a row? No, we got a safety car in Baku, didn't we? So it's not 2 in a row with that one, but 2 in Singapore in a row. We went 14 years in a row with one every single year, full safety car. And now we're going to go 2 years in a row without a full safety car, or even a virtual safety car. Could be, Jamie. We will do driver of the day once I've gone through the result and that at the end. We're 5 laps away from the end now, so we'll see. Alonso is de facto the best of the rest today. Yeah, literally, isn't he? 8th place. Yeah, Piastri not closing in as much. I was just looking at that. Norris is still quicker than Verstappen. Stroll's had lap times deleted, leaving the track and getting advantage. So he's been noted for that. That is going to be interesting. That could be a penalty. Sainz has now passed Tsunoda. So what's happened to Yuki there? Because Yuki was... I didn't realise Sainz was quite as close as that, to be honest. But Sainz has got through and is now chasing down. I mean, you say Fernando for driver of the day. What I will say is Sainz from 19th on the grid, or 18th on the grid, last place basically, is chasing Yuki, chasing Hadjar down for a point now, 2.6 seconds. One to keep an eye on. Russell comfortable, 6.1 seconds. Norris, 6 tenths now behind Verstappen. Piastri now 2.9. That's not coming down enough now. So I think Piastri probably has given it all he can today. Black and white flag for Ollie Bearman. So he needs to be careful for track limits. Oh. Piastri's going to be close enough to ask McLaren if they've had enough time to think about swapping the positions back. Plus, 3-second extra pit stop. It's only fair, lol, says Warren. Slightly tongue-in-cheek there. But yeah. I mean, they've been determined to keep it fair, haven't they? And you can't. You can try and manage it all you want. You can't keep a championship fight between two teammates fair, especially now that Max Verstappen is starting to put the pressure on a bit more. He's still very much an outsider, Verstappen, a long shot for the title, but he's there. He's causing McLaren problems, as we're seeing here. So you can't manage this fairly. It was stupid to think you could. But whatever. They'll do what they want to do. It's their team. They can do what they want. The drivers are under contract. They'll follow their contracts, I'm sure. But Norris keeps dropping back. I wonder if he's charging a little bit, maybe, to have a go. He's sort of dropped to about a second, and that's allowed Piastri now 2.6 behind. So, yeah. FYI, Lewis Hamilton is right behind Antonelli now. We said he was going to close up, didn't we? So that tyre advantage, that Ferrari have made a good shout on strategy here. I said what I said. 3 laps to go, in case you can't count. But yeah, no, this is a good call from Ferrari to put those softs on Lewis Hamilton in the end. I always wonder. I know they've said, drivers have said in the past that it does G you up a little bit, but I wonder when you are like in the Oscar Piastri situation now, and you're sort of 3 seconds behind or whatever, or 4 seconds, and then suddenly something happens ahead, a teammate goes a little bit wider, or they have a bad lap, and you close in and you see them ahead. How much that really does drive you on as Sainz passes Hadjar for P10. Carlos Sainz, from last on the grid, is up to 10th place. He's 16 seconds off Bearman, so not expecting that. But yeah, I just wonder how much Piastri now thinking, right, just hit that throttle a little bit harder now. Let's, not quite how it works in F1, but I also wonder how much it affects Norris if he sees his teammate there. Oh, I can't go for this move, or I have to go for this move, or yeah, it just I don't know. Let's not get into psychology, but it just intrigues me, this sort of situation. Hamilton now 3.3 behind Antonelli, so I'm guessing he got past Antonelli, I think. This is lap 54. We're watching the replay of lap 54 where Antonelli passed Leclerc. I don't know why it's taken this long, but there you go. For some reason. But Hamilton's just dropped to 3.4 behind Antonelli. I was just going to go and check what was going on in that battle, and there we go. So I don't know what happened. George Russell, 2 laps to go. Just a bit of friendly advice, George, on the final lap, mate. Just avoid that wall at turn 7 on the outside. Was it turn 7? I think it was turn 7. Just give it a wide berth, mate. You've got plenty of space. 5.6 seconds back to Verstappen. You're all right. 2 seconds now, the gap to Piastri, so he is bringing it down. Hamilton's really not quick. Hamilton's in trouble somewhere. In fact, he's about to get repassed by a lapped car. What is wrong with Lewis Hamilton? He's got a mechanical problem or a puncture or something, because he's really slow. At 140. Why are we not... Why are we doing this? Where's the director? Hello? Lewis Hamilton is literally, well, not literally going backwards, but he is just dropping like a stone. I'll wait to see if Sky pick up on it. He's now been unlapped by Bortoletto, Ocon, Hulkenberg, Gasly. Hamilton is so slow out there. He's currently doing 136, 120, 100 kilometers an hour versus 150 for Charles Leclerc. He's getting up to speed. What's happened? So they're showing the swap of position that happened between Leclerc and Hamilton 10 laps ago or whatever, and we're not seeing what's happening to Lewis Hamilton right now. So it's his brakes. There we go. His left front brake has gone. Why did it take so long? You know, I get that we need to watch this championship battle, but when we're through the corners, why can't we go and check up on what's happening elsewhere? We're on the final lap. Jesus. This is the final lap. That is the last run to turn 7. Norris hasn't gone through. Piastri's not close enough here to do anything, but just annoys me, that kind of thing. You know, I get we've got to keep an eye on this, 100%. I agree, yeah, but... You know, Hamilton's dropping like a stone. Let's at least go and find out what's going on or have a look. As you know, could have been in the wall, all we knew. So, yeah, pretty quick to cut to celebrities, but not to when something's happening on track in a race where not a huge amount has happened on track. Weird. Yeah, we shouldn't have to wait till lap 62 to see Antonelli passing Leclerc on lap 54. Very weird, or 61, I think. To be fair to the director. It's a little bit earlier, but George Russell has, I don't think it's controversial to say, pretty much dominated this race. He may only be 5.4 up the road, but he's never really looked under threat. There was a little moment after Verstappen's stop, wasn't there? And George's stop where we thought Max might come back at him, but it never really happened in the end. George Russell round the last couple of corners to win the Singapore Grand Prix. Where are the fireworks? Where are the fireworks? George Russell wins it. Max Verstappen takes P2. Norris couldn't do anything about him and takes P3. And Oscar Piastri, who I imagine is going to be really happy in that cockpit, is P4. We're staying live for Part Fermi. I promise you that for nothing. But there you go. McLaren are the Constructors champions. Yay. Didn't see that coming. What a shock. No, it wasn't a Grand Slam. It wasn't reincarnation. Hamilton has the fastest lap, unfortunately, for George. And Oscar Piastri led a couple of laps as well. So, yeah, it wasn't Grand Slam, but still pretty comfortable for George Russell today. So, great stuff. Great stuff for Max as well, P2. Managing whatever car issues he's got. I agree with Warren that the gamble on the softs at the start didn't pay off. Not just because it was obvious that it didn't pay off, but still worth mentioning that one. Norris P3, Piastri P4, Antonelli 5th, 6th for Leclerc. Great drive by Antonelli, by the way, super quickly. That's 2 weekends in a row where he's kept it clean and delivers some big points for the team. Yes, his teammates won, but still, great stuff for Kimi, finding his feet now again. Hamilton P7, despite those issues, he did get over the line, or will get over the line. Or can he keep Alonso at bay? Oh, this is going to be close over the line. We're not watching it, but we're having to watch on the driver tracker, because even though there are still cars going round, and there you go, Hamilton does get P7 and Alonso P8. Ollie Bearman will come through to take P9, and then it will be Carlos Sainz P10, because he was lapped, so that's done. Hadjar 11, Tsunoda 12, Stroll 13, Albon 14, Lawson 15, Colapinto 16, Bortoletto 17, Ocon 18th, 19th Gasly, 20th for Nico Hulkenberg. We will go through all the times, and then we'll go through the order, and we'll go through the championship in just a minute. I just want to see if there's any team radio from Oscar Piastri. Norris saying simply beautiful over the radio. I guess celebrating the Constructors Championship rather than P3, but I'd be really intrigued by what Piastri's got to say. But we're not going to get an interview with him for ages, are we? That's a shame. That would have been great to watch. I'm going to disappear for 10 seconds, have a quick drink, pause for the timestamp, and do the race result, of course. They're looking at Oscar Piastri and waiting to see if he does have a radio. But if you are disappearing, because I know a lot of you will now, you only stay for the race. But thank you very much for joining me today. Really appreciate your company. Please do drop a like before you go, and subscribe if you're new as well. Would really appreciate your company for the rest of the season. So thank you very much. If you are sticking around, I'll be live for another half hour or so, going over everything. But I'm just going to go get a drink, and then I'll come back and do the result, and then we'll debrief what was a thrilling Singapore Grand Prix. Nick's just arrived. There you go. Nick, mate, you've missed nothing. Apart from me with my wonderful words. Let's do the order then. Let's do it. George Russell has won the 2025 Singapore Grand Prix very comfortably in the end, 5.4 seconds clear of Max Verstappen. Couple of moments where it did look like it was going to get interesting, but he seemed to have everything under control, particularly through the traffic. He did really well not to lose too much time there. He lost some, but not a huge amount, so good stuff from him. Really good drive for George today. Max Verstappen, P2, struggling with his car, as I said a moment ago. The softs at the start, that gamble didn't really pay off, but he was much better on the hard tyre, but the problems he was struggling with the car, the downshifts, we think, not helping him, but he did still fend off Lando Norris, who never... He got a run at him, didn't he? He had to go at the outside of turn 7 at one point, but he was never going to get through there, so couldn't get through. Banked the points. Oscar Piastri, 4th place today, not happy with the incident at turn 2 or 3, sort of through there. Norris catching the back of Max Verstappen and then having to swing out to try and avoid it being worse than it was, and bang wheels this teammate and nearly stuffed him in the wall. So Piastri not happy at all. They're going to debrief that after the race, but McLaren, all they'll care about right at this moment in time is that they are the Constructors Champions for 2025, which again, I'm poking fun at it, but we've pretty much known now for, you know, nearly a year this was going to be the case, haven't we? So not a huge shot, but still it's great for them to get that sorted. Now they can just leave their drivers to get on with it and stop with this papaya rules bullshit, quite frankly. Kimi Antonelli, P5 for Mercedes. Again, good drive for him today. Great way to build on Baku as well, so good stuff from him. Maybe a bit disappointed not to be a bit closer than 25 seconds off the McLarens, but he was ahead of both Ferrari. Charles Leclerc, P6. Hamilton, P7 was looking on for P5 actually, but then his left front brakes just gave up, or his brake disc gave up, and that just saw him plummet from the back of Antonelli back behind Leclerc, and just held off Fernando Alonso by 4/10 over the line. But great drive from Alonso as well, by the way, for P8. Don't forget 9-second pit stop as well for him, so really well done to him to get those points in the bag. Also for Ollie Bearman, I thought he had P8 sealed, but you know, P9 is still a fantastic result. Drove well all weekend, actually, Bearman. Carlos Sainz from the back of the grid did 50 laps on the medium tyres, then pitted to put the softs on for the last 10 or 11 laps, in fact, and then closed everyone down, including an ailing Isaac Hadjar, and got himself into the points. So cracking drive from Sainz. That's a drive I think might go a little bit under the radar compared to, say, for example, Fernando Alonso, but great stuff from Sainz. Isaac Hadjar, P11. Actually, all things considered, the problems with his car, that's still a good result, just not points, unfortunately. Tsunoda P12, Stroll P13, Albon P14 from the pit lane. It was 15th for Liam Lawson, 16th for Colapinto, who finished where he started, but he was involved in a few things back there, wasn't he? So that's a bit of a surprise. Bortoletto 17th, Ocon 18th. Gasly started in the pit lane, only managed P19. Just not clicking for Alpine at all at the moment, is it? And Nico Hulkenberg was running better than 20th, but had a spin at turn 7, which flat spotted pretty much all his tyres, and he had to pit and get rid of them, so that ruined his day. But that is your top 20. Also, Singapore Grand Prix, most physically demanding race of the year. There's only actually officially 13 minutes or so left on the clock, and we had all 20 cars finishing, so that might give you a rough idea as to how dramatic that race was. Oscar Piastri still top of the standings though. 3 points the gap has come down by. Norris getting 15 points, of course. Piastri 12. So that's 336 place 314. So a bit of damage limitation for Piastri maybe today. I don't know, but he's not happy. I'm looking forward to that interview. Max Verstappen third. Did close in by 6 points on Piastri. Maybe needed a bit more than that, but he's still got an outside shot, but he is now definitely going to need McLaren to have a Baku-style weekend or worse, realistically. But never say never with Max Verstappen. Red Raven will now say never in the chat. Russell P4, 237 points. Leclerc, 173 points in 5th place. Hamilton got 6 today, of course, 127 for him now in P6. Antonelli, up to 88 points, actually, now in 7th place. Alex Albon, every week it gets me. 70 points for him in 8th place. Isaac Hadjar has 39 on 9 points. Hulkenberg 37, now just 3 clear of Alonso, who moves up 3 places to P11, and 3 is also the number of... Oh no, never mind, that's for the previews. Carlos Sainz, P12, hasn't gone anywhere but did get a point. Stroll down 2 places, 32 points. Lawson 30 points. Ocon 28, Gasly 20, Tsunoda 20, Bortoletto 18, Bearman 18, Colapinto yet to score, as is Jack Doohan, but he's not here anymore. So McLaren, he's not racing F1 anymore. He's still alive, just to be clear. 650 points for McLaren, 325 for Mercedes. McLaren are the Constructors champions. Mercedes now 25 clear of Ferrari. So that's going to be a fun fight if you care. For P2, I guess the bank manager will care. Red Bull, by the way, only 10 points behind Ferrari now, so it's not over. They might still get a top 3 here, Red Bull, which would be incredible given that only one car's really scoring. Williams in P5, 102 points for them. Great to see them over 100, of course. 72 for Racing Bulls in 6th, 66 for Aston Martin in 7th. It's a lot of numbers, this. 55 for Kick Sauber, as they are listed here. Horrible name, just Sauber will do. 8th place, 9th for Haas, 2 points today, puts them on to 46, and Alpine, no points and cut well adrift, 20 in total for the season in last place. That's a lot of info. It's a lot of info, but we got there. There we go. It's all done there. We've got Zach Brown down there, who, by the way, isn't team principal. Andrea Stella is, but they very much work as a pair, don't they? And Zach Brown does love to shove himself in front of a camera, so just call him Mike Dean. That's fine. Lots of water for the driver. They all look knackered, which they will be, understandably. As always, get your question chat. We'll do driver of the day shortly. But yeah, get your question chat. We'll stay live for a little bit longer yet, and we'll just see if we get any interesting reaction. But yeah, just confirming again, McLaren are Constructors champions. And the gap at the top now is... I can't find... Where have the championship tables gone? Where are they? There we go. Is that the right one? Yeah, that's updated. Sorry, I'm trying to work out that's updated. The gap at the top is now 22 points. Yeah, it's the right one. Yeah, 22 points. So still very much in Oscar's favour, but now he hasn't got that race win buffer. So let's see what happens in 2 weeks' time in Kota. Actually, just to let you know, this is... things are going to really start kicking off now in the championship. We've got Austin and Mexico back-to-back. By the way, little bit of a side that nobody cares about, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Went to have a look at doing the Mexico track map yesterday for the previews. They still haven't. Google Images have still not, or Google Earth have still not updated the circuit in Mexico since it was been renovated back in 2016 or whatever, or 2015. Come on, lads. So I have to find a way around that. But anyway, then it's Mexico. Then you've got a week off. Then it's Brazil, week off. And then we've got Vegas, Qatar and Abu Dhabi for the final 3 races. So quite a lot to come very quickly now, but there we go. Yeah, get your questions in. We'll have a chat, react to what we've seen. They're doing this all 3 together for some reason, interview thing, because the other way was obviously not adequate. There you go. I take it Hamilton was told to let Leclerc pass. No, I just had no speed. He had his left front brake disc had just failed, so he was just so slow. Even if they'd not told him to let Leclerc through, Leclerc would have got through. I mean, to put it into full context for you, Leclerc's final lap was a 1:39.5, Hamilton's was a 1:47.7, so actually not bad when you consider he's missing a left front brake, so actually not too bad in the end. But yeah, Luke says Max Verstappen title charger, is it too little too late? If he'd won today, with Russell between him and the McLarens, I'd probably be a bit more optimistic. I will say he's not out of it, in my opinion, but he is very much an outsider, and he's going to need... He needs another Baku weekend for him and McLaren. So he has a great weekend and wins it comfortably. McLaren have a shocker. That's what he needs now, really, because it's still, 60... Off the top of my head, about 63 points or something between him and Oscar Piastri, and that's a lot to make up in 6 races. But bad weekend for Piastri, bad weekend for Norris, win for Verstappen... Bit of luck, keep himself in the mix. You never know. You can never completely rule Verstappen out, and I will stand by that until it's mathematically impossible. But he's going to need some luck. But yeah, that's all I can say, Luke. I can't say yes because I'm biased and I want to scream yes he can, of course he can. But being realistic and removing my own bias for a second with a bit of a level head, it's unlikely but not impossible. Red Bull have got a better shot at top 3 of the standings, though. That's something. 63 points is a lot. Yes, it is, Pascal. It will be very difficult. But again, bit of chaos. You've got to remember as well, and I said this the other week, I said it yesterday as well, some of the races coming up, Mexico could be a bit of a leveler, can't it, with altitude? That's less of an issue now, but it's still there. Kota, Verstappen goes well there. Interlagos is an absolute lottery. I still think Vegas and Qatar, we're still sort of learning them as tracks. There's still variables in there. So there's only really, if you want to talk about straightforward race weekends, you'd probably say Austin, Mexico and Abu Dhabi are only guaranteed pretty much straightforward weekends, as in they've got a crap ton of data, etc., etc. So there's a few variables still in there that can mix this up. But equally, a bad Interlagos for Verstappen, and suddenly he's in trouble again, isn't he? So, yeah. It's Brazil, exactly. Brazil is usually bonkers, so it brings people back into it. But, yeah. Great damage limitation for Papaya and Constructors officially sealed, says JJ Lawn. Mercedes are dumb as F for not extending Russell before the summer break, says Jamie. George should have been confirmed long before the summer break. He's been very good this season. I get why they held on for Verstappen. From a business point of view, given that there isn't really anywhere for Russell to go, if I was in Toto's position, I wouldn't have extended it either, because now they've got a bit more room to negotiate, because they've got a bit more power in that now. I know Russell, you could argue Russell holds the cards, but there's nowhere for Russell to go, really. So Mercedes can now hang on a bit and maybe save themselves a few £1,000. But yeah, I mean, here's my question for Toto Wolff and co. Outside of business, what more has George got to do? And I said this before he even won in Canada. I think I said that. What more is the guy going to do? I've certainly said it a lot over the summer, so there's more at play here. I don't think this is a money thing, truthfully, despite what I just said. I don't think it's a money thing. I think this is contract length. I think think back to Lewis before he decided to go to Ferrari, and that was announced. I think George wants more than a 1+1 if that's what's on the table, or he wants more assurances over his long-term future, and that's what they're arguing about. So yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, of course you would, Jamie. You still ask for more money. Oh well, fine, you're only gonna be 1+1, but I want this much more a year. Maybe you do that, but yeah, let's see what happens. Toto to George, great drive. Sorry, SI Max. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows what's gone on? Here's some nonsense for you that Shaw's going to make up on the spot. Why not? I'm a fan. I'm allowed to. Who knows? Max Verstappen may have already signed for Mercedes for 2027. He hasn't, but you never know. I don't know if George would go to Red Bull. Teammates with Max, ? Says Bob. For us, as fans, yes, please. That'd be great. I don't see it. I think race day concerts performed by Elton John and Lewis Capaldi. There you go. I'm sure we'll get to watch that live. We're going to do an Elton John and Lewis Capaldi watch along. We're not. What I was going to say, I think in terms of the driver market, as an update for those who are interested, I think we're looking at Verstappen, Hadjar at Red Bull next year, and it's going to be Lindblad and Lawson or Tsunoda And although Red Bull have said that Alex Dunn is really signing him would be with a view to him doing another year in F2. And then I'm watching Max in the cooldown room, watching the replays at the start. Sorry. He's on his own, I think. Bless him, just watching telly. Yeah, I think their view is to get him keeping F2 next year, get his super license and promote him. But if he gets his super license and they're not really blown away by Lawson and Tsunoda, then maybe they'll give Dunn an early promotion. But we'll see at Racing Bulls. But I think probably, yeah, Tsunoda or Lawson alongside Lindblad, which is too soon for Lindblad, but whatever. We'll see what happens. He might prove me wrong. Mercedes will stay the same. Who else is yet to confirm? Alpine. Put 30 names in a hat and pick one. That's kind of how I feel about Alpine. Surprised they didn't go after Dunn, actually. They might still do. Nothing's confirmed yet with Red Bull, so there might still be ties. But yeah, I don't see much changing there. Yeah, could have had him for 15 million now. Probably going to want 20 to 25 million with 3 years with performance clauses, says Jamie. Yeah, true. Counter that. Counter my business point with maybe it was bad business to do it that way. But yeah, it's fair. We'll never know, will we? Toto wanted Lewis out because he thought Kimi would be a better driver, says Baby Spice. I mean, conversation for another day. I mean, yeah, fine. Hamilton's ahead in the championship in a Ferrari, but not that much clearer of Antonelli, is he, despite Antonelli's problems? So I'm not saying Antonelli's better. To be clear, Hamilton is still a better driver than Antonelli. I'm not saying that he's not for a second. I'm just saying sort of context on what Antonelli's done this season. But yeah, but then I think it was a year too soon for Antonelli. But then if you're Lewis Hamilton, you've got those championships. Why would you wait? Why would you take a 1 year plus one when there's a 2 or 3 year on the table somewhere else? You wouldn't, would you? So, yeah. Red Raven says, honestly, Russell should get that 1+1 year. Who knows what happens next year? Yeah. Yeah, that is, to be fair, Red Raven, as often is the case, you've made a great point. I mean, we all talk about Mercedes potentially being the team to beat, but what if they're 6th fastest and Russell's just signed a new 5-year deal? Suddenly that's bad business, isn't it? So it's a good point, actually. Take the 1+1 and see how things are, or maybe a 2+1 with performance clauses after the first year. But yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, it's messy though. It is messy. It's all a bit silly and unnecessary. But especially given that they've all said that he's staying and that Antonelli's staying, so why are we still having this conversation? Just sign the damn contract. 6 months. That's all you're getting, George, or get out. Just looking for questions on the race if we can find them. Where has McLaren's dominance gone since the start of the year? What are the facts of it, says Anushka. I was saying pre-race, actually, Anushka, that because this came out yesterday, I don't think McLaren haven't lost pace. I just think, Mercedes are quite, post their dominance, they're quite a track-specific team, aren't they? There are certain tracks in a season, and they don't always seem to be the same either, where they go well, and I think that's what's happening with Mercedes. They're just having a normal one of these are the 4 races we're going to do well at, and that's it. But Red Bull have bought some sort of update. I haven't got the specifics in front of me what they all are, but some sort of update for the last 8 races in a row, whereas McLaren haven't, and I think it's just Red Bull have just closed that gap a little bit. So there is also the argument, again, around McLaren just faffing about too much and seem to be determined to piss this away. So there's that as well. But in terms of performance, it's certainly Red Bull have closed that gap rather than McLaren have lost pace. In a straightforward weekend, all things equal, I'd still put McLaren as the team to beat, but it's certainly not in the same way that it was, 4 or 5 months ago, or even races ago, frankly. So top 5 drivers will find ways to make outs in their contract, even if they're on long-term ones, says Jamie. Exactly. I mean, Max is signed up till 2028, the end of 2028, and look how close it seemed he was getting to the exit earlier this year. So there's always a way out, isn't there? Rosberg signed a new deal, then retired at the end of the year. So I've said before, contracts aren't worth the paper they're written on. Of course, that's not literally the case, because there are lots of things in the contract that are really important. But when it comes to duration and things like that, those sort of things can easily be worked around if need be. So, but Baby Spice is happy to secure the Constructors title again. So there you go, Baby Spice, a McLaren fan. I kind of got that, but I thought I'd confirm it to everybody watching. There you go. What's up with the Merc engineer standing off the podium? Says a Yinka. Is that just because they've got a Mercedes power unit, maybe? To do with that? I don't know. What's going on there? No, what am I on about? It is Mercedes. I thought it was a McLaren win. What am I doing? No, shut up, Sean, you idiot. Shut up. I don't know. The Hatpro says, I meant to watch and comment, but I fell asleep. Yeah. I was going to have a nap halfway through, but I thought I'd better not, just in case. Got you. Now I'm with you. Sorry, I was just trying to... When you said that, I thought, well, because McLaren have won a Constructors, I thought it was because of that, but it was because of the podium, and specifically, yeah. He is up there. Sean, if you could bring back any F1 team from history, what team would it be and why? That's from Kieran. That's a good question. It's also quite a difficult one because a lot of the teams that I could suggest, for example, Benetton, they are technically on the grid because Enstone team is still there, and Tyrrell are still there in the form of Mercedes, and so it's a little bit tricky, that one. Someone like a Brabham would be quite cool to see back, I think. Yeah, Braun or Hesketh, they're good shouts, but Brabham would be quite cool to have back. Teams that have legendary drivers' names, basically, that anything like that like links to the history of F1. I love that sort of thing. So like a Brabham could come back, for example. Lotus, yes, I love Lotus as a name. But then which Lotus? Team Lotus, that weird Renault Lotus that we had for a while. I don't even know if you could bring a Team Lotus back. Who? Actually, do you know, forget it. Yeah. No, you've got a point. Team Lotus. It is an easy answer. Team Lotus with a Cosworth engine. There you go. Yeah, Renault is Alpine. Renault is Alpine. Renault is Benetton. Renault is Benetton Renault, because they had that little weird phase at the start of the 2000s, didn't they? Renault is Lotus. Renault is whatever name they go with next week, I suppose. Yeah, there you go. Paint them all one colour and figure out which one's best as a hat pros. There you go. Why not? Force India, says Sam. I do miss Force India. I know they've become Aston Martin, but I know it's the same team and it's still based from... But I kind of miss that plucky underdog. I don't get the plucky underdog feel from Aston Martin. They feel more serious, whereas I quite like that plucky underdog. The Jordan team... Heinz-Harald Frentzen very nearly finding himself in a championship fight in the finale. Could you imagine if that had gone his way? Incidentally, Heinz-Harald Frentzen shared a video on X or Twitter. I call it Twitter. It's still Twitter. Called it that yesterday on Twitter yesterday as a callback to the 1999 French Grand Prix and the qualifying there. Go and look at the conditions they qualified in back in 1999 in France. Go find him on Twitter. It's a... They wouldn't do it now, and if they did, it wouldn't be long before it was a red flag. So, wow. I missed the yellow. I mean, that 1999 Jordan was stunning. So was the 98 one as well. So, I think that's probably my favourite era of cars. Mid to late 90s, early 2000s. Everything for me is late to mid 90s, early 2000s, because it's all linked to when I started watching, and when I was understanding it more, and Schumacher and all of that. So, yeah. Toyota's livery was quite cool, wasn't it, Eva? I know livery in cars doesn't really matter. It's about car performance, not the livery as such. But in terms of liveries, that was quite a cool livery on that car. So I quite like Toyota's a good shout. More manufacturers, more legendary team names. Let's get Brabham back. Let's have a Honda team. Let's have a Renault team. Let's have a Toyota team. A Vauxhall team. Opel, if you're elsewhere in the world. Yeah, no, Jordan are a great team. But they are still existent. So I guess, yeah, Lotus is a good shout. Team Lotus is a good shout. LaRousse, there you go, from Nick the Green. That's one that's come out of nowhere. Jaguar says Mike. That was a good livery. Good livery. The MTV Simtech livery, I quite like that one as well. But anyway, have we got any questions? HRT. Any questions related to the weekend or the championship going forward? I'll tell you what we'll do. We will either here or elsewhere do a stream over the winter, see if Jonty's up for it, and we will just do, because it's been a while since we've done one, we'll just sit down and we'll forget 2025 and we'll forget 2026 and we'll just talk about historical stuff. We'll do great teams from the past, talk about great drivers, championships that we loved watching, races we remember that were amazing. But we'll do a proper maybe somewhere near Christmas, as a bit of a Christmassy stream type thing. Just sit down and just talk about F1 history, things we love, things that broke our hearts, and all of that business, and just a bunch of fans doing that. That'll be fun. So we'll go with that one. But yeah, ideally linked to the race weekend and going forward for the rest of this season, I think. But yeah, I think that'd be fun. Just because, like, something that I fell into the trap on this channel, focusing on the last 75 minutes rather than the last 75 years. A lot's happened, so we'll do that. We'll definitely do that. But I love Tyrrell as a team, by the way. But yeah. Worse than, I'm not going to read it, CPV, but worse than that if he won his 8th in 2006. Good Lord. Yeah, that would have been some tears. In fact, I'll tell you what, I am gonna go a bit quiet because I'm going to listen to Piastri in the pen. I guess turn this up. Sorry if I get into trouble now, if it comes over the headphones, I'm sorry. Difficult race is the first line from Piastri there. It's all very diplomatic, as you'd expect. Haven't seen the replay yet. We'll wait till he's seen that. In really great race for the team, winning the championship, and then, you know, a lot of hard work, blah 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 blah. I wasn't expecting him. It's all a bit diplomatic. I wasn't expecting him to come in and be like, "Who wants some?" or anything like that. But, you know, something would have been nice. Ripping his shirt off, bring it, or anything like that. But, you know, something would have been nicer than a diplomatic answer. He's just going to say, yeah, I haven't seen the incident yet from replay, so. Gotta go watch Barcelona v Sevilla. See you later, Baby Spice. Have fun. Yeah, very much toe the company line, but something would have been nice, you know. I get it. He's got to be careful. Sponsors and blah, blah, blah. And he doesn't want to upset the team. They've just won the championship, so. But he's certainly not the Oscar Piastri that was on the radio in the car. Well, I mean, it's literally the same person. I'm not saying they've swapped them over. It's not his doppelganger. But, yeah. Yeah. Well, let me tell you something, brother. See you later, Mark. Have a good one, mate. Go get some sleep. Hopefully catch you in the next stream. Enjoy. Yeah, I mean, it is exactly just as it's racing, and this is the thing, isn't it? It happens sometimes. But the lines have been drawn, so now he knows that, you know, he can maybe bang wheels with his teammate a bit more and not face anything from the team. But I do feel a little bit like, and do you know, I sometimes sound like I really hate F1. I don't. I love this sport. It's pretty much, if you include thinking about the channel and the future, it's all that's in my mind. It's all I seem to care about. So I love this sport to pieces. But it does feel a little bit like when things like this happen, where McLaren start falling out over team orders and the wheel banging there, that we're just so desperate for something to happen, that we're trying to make a big fuss over something that when you then watch the replays back 2 hours later, you're kind of like, oh, was that what we were fussing about, really? But then could you say that about most F1 incidents? That at the time you're quite angry because something's gone on, and then an hour later you go, whatever. Maybe. Oscar, I've told the team to bring a lot of extra parts to the next race. That's from Kevin. I feel like the title is slowly starting to slip away from Oscar, says CPB. I don't feel that. I think he's had a bad weekend in Baku, and not a terrible weekend this weekend, but not great. So I think I can see why you'd say that, given the last couple of races, and maybe Monza where he let his teammate through. But I still think, again, a head-to-head, all things equal, no papaya pissing about and all of that nonsense. I still think of the two of them, I'd fancy Oscar to, in a straight fight between them, I'd fancy Oscar to still win it at the end of the year. The problem for McLaren is it's not a straight fight. You've got all these papaya rules. You've got Verstappen now in the mix. You've got Mercedes now on a hot weekend have delivered that performance, so they're in the mix, and Ferrari occasionally turn up to cause some havoc for 7 minutes in practice one and then disappear for the rest of the weekend. But I think that's the problem for Piastri and McLaren, is it's not equal, is it? But Cota's important for Piastri. I'm not going to say it's a must win, that's a bit dramatic, but for him personally, rather than the championship, he could do with a win, or at least beating his teammate that weekend. So yeah, Hatpro says it wasn't even an incident. Just, I'm watching Ant Davison while he does his analysis, because he's. I'm not a massive fan of Sky, but I if there's one person on Sky that I would pay money to watch do analysis separately, it would be Anthony Davison. He feels like probably the least or the most neutral commentator or pundit that they have, in my opinion. You might all go, "What are you on about? He's so biased," but I don't read it that way. But yeah, so it's just, they're watching it in slow-mo now. So Piastri's drifting wide at turn 2 a little bit, is what he's looking at here. Will McLaren blow up Oscar's engine as they did Norris and Zandvoort, says Nick. All deliberate. Yeah. Andrea Stella is talking to Sky now. I'm not going to keep listening to what they're saying. You can go and find your analysis and your stuff after the race, of course. I'm just going to see if there is anything from the group chat. Yeah, a couple of them saying there that he's just too measured. Is Piastri in that moment? But yeah, we'll come to chat now. We'll ignore all of this. I know it's part of F1, but this is sort of thing you can watch on YouTube and on highlights later if you want to, if you're not listening to it now. And if there's anything important to get said, you can feed it into the chat. But your analysis, yeah. So we'll do some more questions, then we'll wrap it up. We'll go to past, which is 12 minutes from now. So that's what we'll do. Do you think McLaren will get race Cota, or will they just focus on next year now that they've won the Constructors? I don't think there'll be much quicker for them at all between now and the end of the season, to be honest. I think there'll be track-specific updates. So Mexico, they might bring quite high downforce, wouldn't it, in Mexico? Cause is it high downforce in Mexico? It's the opposite to what I seem to think that Mexico, I always remind myself, is the opposite to what I would think with that long straight. You think maybe it needs lower downforce, not low, but lower. But I think it's quite high downforce in Mexico. High, low downforce, rear wings, front wings, stuff like that, depending on the track. But I don't think there'll be anything as an upgrade as such, if that makes sense. So, yeah. I watch F1 TV now, says Lee. I miss Brundle a bit, but that's it. Yeah, I like Martin Brundle. He's gone full grumpy old man over the last couple of years, so I really do like him. Although I don't know how to get F1 TV in the UK, really, in a way that would work for me. Yeah. I saw someone say something. High downforce due to thinner air. That was it, yeah. Because you look at the track, you think with those long straights you want a lower downforce, but it's not. It's, yeah. I like Alex quite a bit too, says Hat Russ. I'd like Alex Jakes to commentate on Sky, but yeah. It's good stuff. Do you think I've read that one? Ant is great. He's very detailed and objective. How did he get hired by Sky, says Kevin. Brundle will never be as grumpy as me, says Nick. Oh, I don't know. I tell you what, I kind of feel like we'd have a lot of fun with it, but people listening at the table next to us would think we're a bunch of miserable bastards. But I feel like me, you and Martin Brundle, Nick, would have quite a good time in the pub. I mean, anyone listening would think we're just absolutely horrific and miserable, but grumpy old men properly. But I think we'd have fun with it, so screw everyone else. Enjoyed your coach as always, Sean. Got to head out. See you for Cota. See you, Michael. Thank you very much, mate, for your support as always. See you for Cota next. One of my favourite races of the year, and I think actually quite an underrated race. It's not the greatest track ever designed, but I think it's a really good track for racing. So I enjoy it. I enjoy Cota. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just caught the question. Zach Brown was like all race weekends, we review everything. So they're going to review this one. Yeah. If Brundle tried to run a pub nowadays, we see a real grumpy side of him. Yeah. I'll tell you what, Nick. Me, you, Jeremy Clarkson, and Martin Brundle will buy a pub together. That'd be great. We'll just call it the Grumpy Inn. Yeah. They're looking at it on Monday is what they said. Yeah, blah, exactly, Kaori. Blah, blah, blah. PR line. We'll review, and then nothing changed at the next race and whatever. But I don't think it wasn't. Looking back at the time, it was probably the most exciting thing that happened all race. But looking back now at that, it's sort of like, shit happens. Yes, I would. I've answered that one, CPB, but I'm not going to read it. But yeah, I would. Like a baby, I'd have cried at that one if he won the 8th in 2006. Oscar needs to speak up like a real champion, says Brian. There has not been a soft champion that I remember. I mean, define soft. I don't know what you define as soft, but I don't feel like Jenson Button was a particularly aggressive talker in the media. He was definitely more so, I think, than Oscar, or than Lando and Oscar. But he wasn't like a Schumacher or a Senna or whatever in like the way they dealt with the media. It was somewhere in the middle, Jensen. So that's all right, CFB. I just thought I'd let you know I had watched it. I had read it. So yeah. Stuart says, I just don't see the bias people talk about. Most seem reasonable. I feel people take way out of context. I think my issue, where I would point bias, is I agree with you that, you know, like Simon Lazenby is not remotely biased. I think he does a great job at leading that conversation every week. I think Anthony Davidson isn't, but I don't think Jamie Chadwick is. Or even Martin Brundle, but it's when it comes to particularly Crofty and Ted. And my example would be yesterday in qualifying when they, and I'm exaggerating a bit, but when they effectively wanted Charles Leclerc arrested and tried for attempted murder and locked up for life because he accidentally ran into Lando Norris in the pit lane because the team let him out. Had that happened the other way, I don't think Crofty in particular would have had quite the aneurysm that he had. But that's where the bias leans in for me. And you listen sometimes to the commentary and something happens to that today and it's like, oh, get on with it, it's racing. But if Piastri did that to Norris, they'd be having a 42-lap debate about it. You know, it creeps in sometimes in commentary. But also what we have to remember, and I know because it's not the same as what they go through, but I'm commentating to you guys when we do these. It's sometimes in the heat of the moment you say things that after a couple of hours you look back and go, oh, I didn't really mean that. And maybe that's the same for Crofty. So I think you've got a point on the context thing, absolutely. And I don't think everybody at Sky is biased, but I do think there are some who are more biased towards British drivers. But it is, whilst it goes worldwide, it is ultimately a British broadcaster. So people wouldn't necessarily have a proper go at the BBC for being biased towards Lewis Hamilton back in the day, let's say, when they had the rights, or when James Allen on ITV is screaming, Jenson Button wins! Going absolutely mad like that. So, yeah, I don't think Sky's to that level of bias, I guess is my point. Yeah. The Ted thing, it was just that he kept banging on. But I think I said this yesterday in the stream. Obviously, you weren't here for that, Stuart, but I said this in the stream yesterday that what I will 100% agree with Ted on is that this was inevitable. It was something like that was always going to happen, but it didn't warrant the meltdown that I felt Crofty had and a lot of people felt Crofty had about it. And again, in hindsight, Crofty might look back at that and go, oh, I probably did go a bit over the top, but I'm commentating in the moment, live, and that's that. So if you think Sky is biased, you should watch Canal Plus here in France. You would think the French drivers are Hamilton or Schumacher. That's what I mean. But, French media is biased towards French drivers, and German media to German drivers, and Spanish to Spanish drivers. Italian media biased towards Ferrari, Dutch media to Verstappen. That's kind of what Sky are, but they get broadcast around the world, so they don't. They're not quite to that level, so I'll give them that credit. So I'm gonna stop because I'll just repeat what I've just said again. But yeah, that's the point. But yeah, it is owned by an Australian, but it's B Sky B, which is a British Sky broadcast, isn't it? So look, the minute I can get F1 TV legit in the UK, I will do. Although I am going to look at this winter, maybe not legit, because I'd prefer just the F1 TV coverage, but from what I've seen of it. Yeah. I guess as well, just one last line. I suppose bias is subjective as well, isn't it? I guess that's a good point to make as well at that point to round that off. I'm pretty sure if I spoke Dutch or Italian, Ted wouldn't really be that extreme, says the Hatbrust. Maybe. Red Raven says, maybe my hangover talking, but I'm incredibly sick and tired of people slandering either Norris, Piastri or McLaren for being soft, weak or whatever. They are the strongest team out there, ATM, period. I could go on a rant now, but I'll save you all the trouble. Rant away, mate. You're in this what we like on this channel. You can rant away. Yeah, they're champions, aren't they? It's. I don't think McLaren are weak. I don't think they're soft. My point to that question was really that how do you define soft? And if you want to talk about drivers, world champions not getting angry in media interviews, then I think Jensen Button's a great example of that. So I don't consider it soft to not get angry in interviews, but I think there are moments where I will criticise McLaren and the drivers for things they should be doing, but kind of to your point, really, Red Raven, they've just won the championship, so who am I to say that? But yeah, I like Jolyon Palmer. I do like Jolyon Palmer. Seems to be a good analyst. Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, I've used the word myself to kind of say how do you define soft, but I don't really. It's like, you know, it's like when my parents tell people to man up. It's like, what does that even mean? You know, you're like, shut up. I get that point, but yeah, they're world champions at the end of the day. It's highly likely one of their drivers, in fact, probable almost, is going to be a world champion at the end of this season. Their first driver's title since 2008. So they're getting something right. But some of their management is shockingly bad this season with team orders, but then I guess contracts, they'll do what they want. It's their team, do what they want is my answer to that. But George Russell has won, by the way. We've barely mentioned the guy. So let me know in chat, who is your driver of the day? One surname, or you can put their full name, or even their nickname if you like. I'll try and guess who you're talking about if you do a nickname. But maybe George does nothing Russell. I don't know what your nicknames might be. But I think, yeah, Russell's got to be a contender for that with how pretty much flawless that drive was. And I think you've got to look at Alonso and Sainz as well. Will be my three nominations, if you like, for that. Maybe Bearman. Although Bearman's is slightly less impressive because he started ninth and finished ninth, so it doesn't seem as impressive as up 8 places or up 2 places, but still a stellar drive. So let me know in chat, and I'll have a read of some of your comments while we're waiting. Love the F1 TV commentators. They mentioned Spa 98 a couple of times today and recommend everyone watch it 100%. Warren says Piastri won't disparage the team in public. Behind closed doors, he'll be saying, okay, you guys have set the new rules of engagement. Again, to my detriment, don't ask me for any favours in future this year. Yeah, no. Probably. You're probably right there. Red Raven says F1 these days seem to have a memory that at best is good enough to recall what happened in the race before. Combine that with extremely tinted glasses and it gets tiresome. Also Alonso driver of the day. That's from Red Raven. Pascal's gone with Sainz for driver of the day. Kevin's gone with Lance Stroll. Hey, you gained 2 places and ran 38 laps on the soft, so I mean, you know. Credit where it's due. He didn't crash. Max has taken 41 points out of Oscar in the last 4 races. Could he actually win? And would it be the greatest comeback to Stewart? I've answered that quite a lot this weekend. I'll give you the brief outline of how I feel. He can, because until it's mathematically impossible, you can't really rule Max out 100%. Because if anyone can, he can. But I think he needs McLaren to have another Baku weekend, and he needs to win it. Is how I'd go with that one. Nick's gone with Sainz. Hatpril says Russell crushed it, but I hate giving the winner driver of the day. So Max did pretty good, but I hate to hand it to him, says the Hatpril. Kaori says that Mark Webber will be fuming. Alonso, even after the horrendous pit stop, great drive, says Warren. Good shout on the pit stop there. KGR, driver of the day, is that King George Russell? Kaori. There you go. Mega quali, mega race. It was a mega quali, actually, wasn't it? Stoffel, of course, is the real answer for driver of the day. We always say Stoffel. Stewart's gone with Alonso. CPB Alonso. It is hard to look past Fernando, isn't it? And I totally agree with what the Hat Russ says about hating to give it to the race winner, because it feels like a cop-out. But I really do feel like George drove brilliantly today, particularly pointing to those laps in all that traffic. He didn't lose. He lost time, but he didn't lose enough time to put himself under pressure. You know, another day he may have done, but I think he drove really well to get through that traffic. Yes, helped by blue flags, but it's tricky to get past in Singapore even with blue flags. I think he drove flawlessly in quali yesterday, drove brilliantly today, which is and a really good way to bounce back from the start of the weekend he had with his crash. So yeah, I kind of, it doesn't matter. I could give it to all three equal, but let's see what it's saying in chat and I'll go opposite. Yeah, Kara said it was King George. Alonso's a good shout, just climbing back into the points though, through sheer will. Did have that slow pit stop. A lot of you have got Alonso in sights. Not many saying Russell, so I will go Russell to offer an opposite, but I'd be happy with any pick between Russell, Alonso and Sainz, to be honest. Yeah. I was trying to think of what I read Red Raven's comment. I was trying to think of what I wanted to say in response, but I don't think there's anything I can say in response to what you've said, mate, that I haven't already said, if not today, then 100 times over the last 12 months. So I'll not bore you with the same old thing, but yeah, I get it. You know, you've got to remember they are Constructors champions at the end of the day, so they're doing the job they need to do, aren't they? And we can criticise some of their decisions. But apart from last year, these decisions from McLaren have only really come in the last, maybe Silverstone, you could argue, I guess, with Piastri asking for positions to be swapped. But it's not like earlier in the season it was every weekend, was it? So you know, they are where I'm not going to repeat it. They are where they are, and they deserve all the credit they get. But I'm still going to moan when drivers are bitching and wanting positions handed back. You know, get over it. Enjoy your chicken broth and your hangover. Hopefully, any secret hangover cure you can offer, Red Raven. Oh God. Do you know, actually, weirdly, very quickly, leave a glass, like a pint of Pepsi, because it's better than Coke, or if you have to have Coke, have Coke. Leave that out overnight, let it go flat, and then drink it in the morning. It's really good for rehydrating you, or I've found. That was an advice a nurse gave me. I'm not sure how reliable it is, but I mean, Kevin's got a fair point. If you drink a bit more, you'll get drunk again and you won't care. So there is that one. I don't know if it's a medical part to it or whether it's genuinely true. But that was some advice a nurse gave me once about hangovers. So I've always done it and it seems to work. So maybe it's just specific to me. See you later, Craig. How you had a good one, mate. Enjoy your evening. See you later to Kira as well. Hope you're okay. But we are going to wrap it up there. Alonso at 79 still has it, says Paradox. Yeah, only 79. Bloody hell. Only 4 tenths behind Hamilton. He'd be gutted he didn't get that over the line, won't he? But there you go. Actually, that's the point. Without that slow pit stop, Alonso would probably have been P7 today. So there is that. There is that one. But yeah, we are going to leave it there for today and for this weekend. Now, just a heads up before you go. There might be a video this week, but there might not be. All will become clear in due course. Don't worry, it's nothing to panic about. I'm not running away. I'm still going to be here, and I'll be here for Kota and the remaining race this season, and we'll do whatever next season. But just for this week, there might not be anything. There is some stuff happening which I will explain to you, I promise. I keep teasing you with it, but I will tell you it's nothing to panic about. But it might be a bit quiet. There'll also be nothing from Sam, and you'll not be hearing from Elizabeth or Thomas on the channel either. So yeah, but as soon as I can let you know, I will do. If you're on Discord, you already know, because, you know, I let you know when I've had a dodgy bowel movement, but there you go. That was too much information, but we'll leave it there for today super quickly. But if not this coming week, then I will definitely be back with the preview for the US Grand Prix in a couple of weeks' time. And of course, then we'll be live for qualifying the race. I might do sprint quali as well. I'm tempted by sprint quali, and I will, because Kaori's just said there, I need to get on the Discord. I will have a word with folks on Discord this week and see if they're okay for it to be opened up. I think they will be. It was originally a reward or whatever for Patreon, so I'll just see if they're okay with that. But I'm sure they will be, and might open up for everybody. But yeah, I might do the sprint quali, because I quite like the quali ones. I won't do the sprint race, because, Yeah, no. But I might just... So I've got 3 live streams out. We'll see how we go. Please do drop a like before you go and subscribe as well. But that'll do for today. Have a good one, everybody. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word. And until next time, goodbye.